We now call the Board of Education study session to order. The time is 5:31. Ms. Neppa, please let the record show that board members Kincaid, Huff, and Thomas Tate are absent, but other members are present. Would you all still join me in the pledge to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our next agenda item is the approval of the agenda. Our recommended action is that the board approve the agenda as presented. Do I have a motion? Board Member Smart moved. Board Member Provance second. All in favor? Opposed? So 4 vote in favor. This evening, we have no public comments. Next is item 4.01, contracts, agreements, change orders, and bids. These items are brought forward for review only, no vote. We will vote on them at the June 23rd regular meeting. Are there any questions for board members related to the policies?
To KCOB.
Yes. Oh, thank you. To the KCOB. I stand corrected. Just because we have a lot of policies, it's on my mind. Okay. All right. We are going to modify the agenda slightly and move to item 8.01, the budget recommendation. Ms. Kara Stasel. We are taking a few items out of order. We're not eliminating them totally, but we are moving Ms. Stasel's presentation to earlier in the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you for the adjustment to the agenda. Good evening, board. So tonight we're presenting the formal 2026-2027 budget recommendation. The budget presented to you tonight represents the combination of months of budget work. We have met in small group meetings and had a variety of budget presentations publicly, and so most of the information contained in this presentation has been shared at those meetings, so I will not read every item on every slide. As a reminder, this is the best information that we have at the time, plus we use some historical assumptions to make projections into the future. And so as more up-to-date information is available, budget amendments will be brought to the board to reflect any necessary changes. I also want to give a shout out to the leaders in business services for their work on the budget this year. They've done an excellent job supporting me and Dr. Shaw as we put this budget together. So the presentation objectives for tonight are just a review of the budget timeline, the process, and the funds. We'll go over the operating revenue and expenditure primary changes. We'll review the dedicated supports for success-ready students that are included in next year's budget. We'll go over the operating projections for FY27 and beyond, and then we'll do a review of all of the other funds budget changes going into next year. So this slide provides just a review of that budget development timeline that we've seen multiple times, and we are on track to meet that statutory deadline of adopting a budget by July 1st. The recommendation in this budget does meet all of the requirements as outlined in Board Policy DB. It includes a budget message, estimated revenues, proposed expenditures, the debt schedules to pay off our district voter-approved debt, and a general budget summary message. So again, this is the budget development presentation review. We have been working on this budget really since the fall, but we started meeting in December with our kickoff meetings and have had a variety of small group meetings and public presentations since that time, all leading to this final recommendation tonight. This recommendation does align to our strategic plan and supports every single priority and goal within our strategic plan. The emphasis within these recommendations do kind of align more to the success-ready students and organizational efficiency and some quality learning environments. But throughout the entire recommendation, you will see that aligns to all 4 priorities. So a quick review of our funds. As a reminder, we operate 4 primary distinct funds that are reported up to the state of Missouri at the end of the year, and then we have that health benefit trust fund, that self-funded fiduciary fund. And as a reminder, the bond fund is included within that capital projects fund as a sub-fund. So first, we'll start with the operating revenue. And again, provided for you is just a breakdown of all of those sources of revenue and the support that we get from each one of those areas. Starting with local tax, our estimated increase for next year is around $4.6 million. Listed for you are the assumptions that we used to arrive at this calculation. So we've assumed about $50 million in new construction, and next year is a non-reassessment year, so we had to use historical trends for non-reassessment years to arrive at that calculation. And then we've assumed a 95% collection rate because not all 100% is paid by the end of December. And our collection rate has dipped slightly due to that senior citizen credit. So our final assessed valuation data will be received in August from Greene County, and that's when we'll set our levy at that time. After our levy is set, we'll do a new calculation to project that revenue, and a budget amendment will come to the board to adjust that as necessary. Provided at the bottom of the slide are the different assessed valuations as a percentage of the market value for the 4 different types of property or real estate that are assessed. So moving on to state aid, we are estimating a decrease next year of about $1.1 million. As you all know, in the conversations that we've had in small group, this has been a roller coaster of a year with regards to state aid. There was another last minute change kind of at the end of May, which dropped that state adequacy target projection from being reduced from 6,900 down to about 6,830 or 6,835. Right now, 6,830 is what is in our projection. So that is the primary driver of the reduction. In addition, we are seeing an enrollment decline as well, so that is definitely impacting our state aid. A couple of things that are positive are that implementation of the shift from 100% average daily attendance to including weighted membership as a part of that calculation. So in the current year, we were paid 90% average daily attendance and 10% weighted membership. Next year, it'll shift to 80-20. And then we have the 169-day instructional incentive that we get as well. Proposition C sales tax, that's an estimated decrease for next year as well. The primary drivers behind that are reduced WADA WAM, or weighted average daily attendance, and weighted average membership. Our projected WADA WAM is projected to go down next year. And in addition to that, the dollar amount paid per WADA WAM is also declining into next year. The Missouri Course Access Program, or MOCAP, has an estimated increase of about $600,000 next year. Again, the primary driver on that is assuming that our enrollment for that increases up to 1,400, and we're hoping to even see it higher than that, but that is the assumption that's used for now. The reason it is not higher is, again, because the state adequacy target is declining and rolling back. So we're not seeing as big of an increase as we would have had that stayed steady or gone up. Transportation funding, another estimated decrease into next year by a little over $500,000. The statewide allocation for transportation was decreased back to the same allocation from FY25. However, transportation costs continue to increase, but we have Keith Adams, who continues to find efficiencies in transportation, so we're so grateful for him. Moving on to the operating fund expenditures, again, the breakdown here of those expenditures, you can see we've mentioned multiple times that salary and benefits make up about 80% of our budget, and that is holding true going into next year as well. So for salaries, we have an estimated recommendation increase of $6.4 million to support increases in salaries for staff. This estimate includes gross salary plus our employer match on retirement, Social Security, and Medicare. All the recommendations from the collective bargaining process will be presented at the next June meeting. So as far as benefit goes, the only increase at this time is an increase to cover the remainder of the increase that happened in January of 2026 this year. So we budget a part of that in the current year, and then we budget the remainder of that in the next year. So it's to cover the increase from the time period July to December of 2026. So that's the only increase that's happening in the benefit area going into next year. Again, we'll continue to look at plan design and utilization, and any recommendations will come to the board by October 1st, 2026. So there are some strategic position increases for next year in the areas of special education and early childhood special education. And then we are adding a 504 process coordinator. We have a position for an outdoor pursuits course, and this position is revenue supported. We have an increase for an elementary athletic and activities coordinator, a part-time position, and then an increase for a full-time and part-time CDL or commercial driver's license trainers. So again, as part of our overall annual budget recommendation process, budget leaders were tasked this year with looking at their budgets again to try to find efficiencies, to look at positions that could be collapsed or find efficiencies within those positions. And as a part of that review process, we've identified about $4.3 million of budget to be reduced going into next year. And again, the primary reason for needing these reductions is because of the reduced or flat or declining revenues and declining enrollment. So that resulted, again, in $4.3 million of reduction and then about 66.78 positions. So purchase service and supply, we have a variety of purchase service and supply increases and decreases listed here. Some of these are just the cost of doing business, right? So we have a technology increase to support that new copier lease. Food, the cost of food continues to go up, so we have a student nutrition increase. We've increased the allocation in transportation to support the ever-driven services, and we do expect to see those costs offset in other areas as we're maybe not paying labor costs, or we have different maintenance costs that are deferred because of that service. And then the Future Educators Program, we're going to increase the participants there. We're seeing success in that program, so we're increasing this allocation for that. And then we have some miscellaneous budget reductions that were just a result of budget leaders taking a look at their budgets to see where they could trim back. This slide provides an overview of the dedicated supports for success-ready students. We've provided this the last 3 years just to highlight the district's ongoing work related to student behavior management and the implementation of consistent discipline at every school. So those resources are listed there. It totals about 60 positions and about $4.8 million that's already in the budget. It's not being added to, but is already in the budget. We just wanted to highlight those positions and those purchase services and supplies that support that work. This slide is an overview of our operating fund balance percentage, the historical and the projected. So again, we've been talking about this for years about how we were at the top of that hill, and now we're strategically trying to come back down without crashing the budget. And so we have that outlook there for you, getting us down to about 19%, all while trying to maintain a balanced budget and continue our work in the capital projects fund and support those expenditures as well. So the dark blue line is our fund balance percentage. That lighter blue line is where the strategic plan calls for us to be, which is 17%. And then board policy is the green line that calls for us to be at 15%, or no less than 15%. This slide provides an operating fund projection, so kind of a 5-year outlook of where we think we might be. You've seen this multiple times. We've got the revenues at the top for operating fund, our expenditures at that second green line, and then that fund balance percentage in the yellow line. So this operating fund balance days supported by the fund balance calculation is something we provided last year, and I think it's always good to take a look at where our fund balance is at and the number of days it supports. So essentially what this calculation does is it takes your operating expenditures and your fund balance, and it says if there was a significant revenue interruption, how many days would our fund balance, our savings account, be able to get us through? And so this calculates out to about 57 days of operating that we would be able to do without any more new revenue. So moving on to our other funds outside of the operating fund, we have debt service fund. The primary expenditure changes for next year just reflect those principal and interest payments that are on our debt schedule. And then the revenue changes are relative to whatever local tax increase that we get. Capital Projects Fund, the primary expenditure changes are those one-time projects that we've talked about, the HVAC projects and the renovation of Harrison Stadium. And then the revenue changes are really just the merchants and manufacturers tax that we always direct receipt over into the Capital Projects Fund, and then any transfers from operating. So we have about a $10 million transfer from operating to capital for next year proposed. Capital Projects Investment Fund. This is a fund that was approved by the board back in 2019 to support the bond projects at that time. The bond projects came in under budget, and so this fund has just kind of been sitting there with a fund balance for a while, and then we had a hailstorm hit. So we've talked to the board and done a budget transfer to start utilizing this fund balance to pay for the deductibles related to that hailstorm. So $1 million of that was budgeted in the current year to get that work going, and the remainder of that will be budgeted in next year to pay for those deductibles. The bond fund, so the primary changes include estimates based on the drawdown schedule for expenditures that will be paid July 1st through June 30th of next year. And then our revenue is based on the interest income from the fund balance that is sitting there. And lastly, we have the Health Benefit Trust Fund. We are anticipating just an increase in utilization, which is typical. So we have some historical trend data to support what we think that utilization increase might be. And then again, we just have an increase in revenue to support the remainder of the 2026 increase that happened in January when we moved our premium up in January. So this increase will cover the period July to December. So pulling all of the funds together in our general budget summary, this slide provides the general budget summary at the bottom for the current year, and then at the top, the projected budget for next year. So you can see that our fund balance is dipping by about 3%, and most of that is related to that $10 million transfer from operating over to capital to support capital projects. So we talked about this in May, but about every $3 million that we transfer or that we have expenditures over revenue, our fund balance drops by about 1%. And that comprehensive budget document is posted for review in preparation for the vote on June 23rd. And that is the end of my presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Stasel. Are there any questions or comments for her from the board? Dr. Mahatmakani?
Thank you, Kara.
Yeah.
My comment has to do with I see that it's under lock, but it will be released after we voted on it, the budget draft. So thank you.
Yeah.
When I first started serving on the board, we didn't have this.
Oh.
And so I make a point, remember, was it 3? You got it there. I don't know if it was there when you got on the board. It was. Okay. It took a couple years, but I just really appreciate it. I don't know if the public knows about it, but I love how transparent it is, and it allows for everybody to look at their school and just be able to see that we invest in all the schools.
Yep.
And then the question I had is on slide 18 and 19, as you were going through this, I was like, I don't know why it hadn't stood out to me. So on slide 18, it shows that we implemented $4.3 million in reduction through positions. And then I guess I was under the impression that we were also bringing some cost savings with purchase services and supplies, but I see that you have increases and decreases, but overall it looks like there's going to be an increase.
Yes, yeah. So that's why I didn't list it on that prior sheet, because the net was an increase in purchase
Net
services
was
and
an
supplies.
increase,
Yeah.
okay. And then what is this decrease? I'm glad I see a $707,000 increase, but can you explain that decrease in the information systems?
Yeah, so some of that would be related to our
Efficiency and
efficiencies are paying for less systems,
paying for less
and then
systems.
less project management costs as well.
Okay, so we're there. We've been
We're
working on
getting
this for a
there.
while. We're
Yes,
getting there.
this is
For next
phase
year.
one.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other question, comment? Board Member Smart?
I just want to have a comment to say thank you so much for all your work and your team's hard work, and thank you for breaking it down to where it's understandable. So,
Thank you.
Board Member Provance?
Thank you.
Indeed. Well, and we would want the public to know that one of the things that's been implemented in the last year or two is several small group meetings for the Board of Education, 3 members at a time or 2 members at a time, sometimes 1 member at a time if we can't get the schedule worked out, to where a lot of information is given to us in detail and explained over and over again, which really does help. And so you and your staff, and I know that the board agrees with this, we really do appreciate all the time and the effort that you take into explaining it to us in a way that makes sense, and you're open to questions and that sort of thing. So I think Dr. Lathan led the way in terms of bringing in the small groups, giving us more opportunity there, and that's been a real plus, in my opinion. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
All right.
Just a reminder, board members, we will have budget office hours next week. Is it next week? Yes, budget office hours next week. If you would like to come in, most of you have scheduled a time. If not, just let me know. But we'll be prepared to answer any questions that you have from all of the presentations from December 2025 up until tonight. Thank you. And thank you, Ms. Stasel. Thank you, Dr. Shaw.
All right, well, now we are going to go back to item 5, because we circumvented some and went down to item 8. So item 5 is board policy. There are several policies being brought forward for review from MSBA due to legislation and minor language changes and cleanup from prior legislative sessions. So board members, please review the policies and submit any questions to Dr. Lathan. And these policies will be brought forward at our next meeting on the 23rd. And there are quite a few of them. Dr. Mahad-Makani? You may.
I guess I should go in order because I see it on my screen. AD being, I promise I'm not going to go on each one, just some of them. So policy AD, this one's just a little bit of verbiage, and there are policies, so we can do what we want with them, but it has strategic plan, then underneath it, it says it's all about the CSIP, you know, the change in language from comprehensive school improvement to continuous school improvement plan, and it references the acronym CSIP. And I was wondering if we should not consider adding the word strategic plan, SP, in there, because all the documents on our website, because it says the board will regularly monitor CSIP implementation and outcomes. It's CSIP, CSIP, CSIP. It doesn't talk about SP, but we do SP, right? That's the language we use on our website in our communication. I was just wondering if our attorneys can look at this and see if it would be beneficial to put like a /SP.
If you want us to do /strategic plan, and then it will be SP.
Does that make sense?
That's fine. I mean,
Maybe.
it
I don't
came
know.
up during our cabinet discussion also that, like I said, people recognize strategic plan. So we can add strategic plan. That's not a problem.
And then, oh gosh, I got to go through my stuff. I'm going to skip just because next on my list is BCCA.
Okay, hold
The
on.
delegate, the MSB delegate and alternate. It says MSB delegate and alternate. So the very first sentence starts with, at its organizational meeting, comma, the Board of Education shall appoint. I was thinking, can we get rid of that first, the clause, and just go with the board shall appoint? Because sometimes we do it at the organization meeting. I think this time we did it the one after. Is it really, because then I feel like,
No, we can move it, and because every year, mainly, we end up doing it in May as opposed to in April, which is the annual organizational meeting. So we just wanted the board shall appoint. Okay.
yeah, I mean, does it, that way it's,
We're in compliance.
we're in compliance with our own policy. And then the next one I have is BF. BF, School Board Policy Process. I think there's 2 points here. I'll let you pull it up. Okay, so I'm going to go backwards from the bottom of the document. So on the second page, after the red line, it says, in most cases, proposed policies or amendments will be presented as agenda items to the board in 2 readings over a 2-month period. I feel like we need to reword that because we don't do that. So I don't know how to reword that. Maybe we could do in 1 reading, or we just need to
Which
like.
one is under, in the red part?
It's underneath the red, the very first.
It's the second. I think she's looking at this.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, yeah.
What do you
Yes.
think about that? How can we?
It's 1 reading, because that's, if you recall, I want to say 2 years ago, it was your request that we bring policies when we have 2 meetings per month, because there's sometimes we were bringing them during combined meetings.
Right.
And so now we have it, so it'll an opportunity to be up during the month. So
But
we
it's
could just
never
change it to
2
1.
readings, right? It's
No.
1 reading.
It's 1 reading, so we'll just change that to 1.
And then, and then we'll leave it in most cases, because in some cases, we don't. We just bring it to a combined meeting,
Exactly.
right? So
Right.
we'll change that. And then it says, over a 2-month period. I don't think we need the period, do we?
No.
We just, I don't know.
Or
I
we could
just,
actually,
if you could just kind
actually
of,
strike the entire first sentence, and the board may adopt, amend, or rescind policy after a number of readings.
yeah, do we need that first? Can we just
Right.
get rid of that first sentence?
Right.
That makes sense.
Okay, hold on, let me get rid of that. Okay, and then on the first page, under policy proposals, I want to get clarification, and then I also would like to strike a sentence that I think is unnecessary. So it says, proposals for new policies or revisions of current policies may be initiated by a board member or anyone interested in or connected with the district, which is, I guess, so anybody can ask for it? Okay, with their district, and must be presented in writing to the board president or the superintendent. The superintendent and administration will review the proposal and make appropriate recommendations to the board. I just want clarification on this. So this sounds like a member of the public or an organization can, or a board member can bring this proposal, and then it's reviewed by the superintendent and administration, and then they make the and the recommendations brought to the board. So are we guaranteed communication? Let's say, John Smith presents a policy, and then you take it under advisement, you think, we already have something similar, we don't need this. Will there be a path for us to know of these policy
Yes.
requests?
Yes, there will be a path to send that information to the board, because at the end of the day, the board will make the final decision if there were to be a policy change.
So you would bring it to the board?
We have to
Even
bring-
if you don't recommend
Even if we don't
it?
recommend, think about the weekly updates or the communications that I send to you.
Okay.
We received XYZ, we're not recommending we move forward, but there would be a formal communication to the board.
Communication to the
Yes.
board, okay. And then the sentence after, I feel like it may not be necessary. It says, in addition, the district may contract with the Missouri School,
Hold on just a minute. Now, where?
same paragraph.
I just don't see it.
In,
Oh, I do now. Never
the
mind.
district may contract with the Missouri School Board Association to provide sample policy services and support. That's true, and we may also contract with our own attorneys. We may do a number of things.
Right.
So do we need that sentence there, or
No, you don't. I mean,
we may do anything we want,
they
right?
choose whomever you would like to engage in with to provide you examples of policy. So you can strike that.
I just think
It
it's
doesn't hurt
extra.
anything
It
to
doesn't,
strike it.
what do you guys think about that? Because I feel like if we say that, I think we should also say, and we may also contract with, I don't know, I just feel like it's extra, like, why did they put that in there?
And under the, like I said, that whole entire section actually could be removed because everything else is applicable to what the board actually does in its current role.
Anyway, just something, it's food for thought, think about it and see what,
Hold on just a second. So Dr. Lathan, your comment just now said that that whole paragraph on policy proposals could be eliminated. Is that what you said?
I mean, that's one way to do it because the board actually, based on the process that you have in place, it comes in front of all board members. All board members make changes to your policies. There's already an avenue for the public to get an item on the board agenda. And so we already have that that's in policy and is actually in state law.
which includes
Exactly,
board
right.
policy
It could be any
suggestions.
agenda item, because it doesn't have to be just policies. It's because it's already a law. So you really don't need this, because the
Yeah.
law already calls
And any
for some
board member can suggest a policy.
revision or change, yes. I mean, that would be my recommendation, that you could remove that section. And this is why, just so you see how this is playing out, and even the public is, the board is engaged in this. We're not making any changes before they get to you unless we don't have a policy like the suicide prevention one that's coming in front of you. That's when we, as a team, start the lead work, and then we bring it back to the board, or bring it to the board.
Comments, Board Member Smart, Provance, in terms of eliminating that paragraph?
That's fine. I don't think I would start adding all the choices at the end of the sentence the way we kind of talked about, because if you add and you add and you add, then you go, oh, who'd you leave out? So,
Okay.
done.
Because we're not removing the 162.208 part, right? Which is,
Have to relate
it's
to
the
that.
clarity and brevity part that
Right,
so we're striking two areas.
yes.
Okay. And then, I got timed out. Okay. And then lastly, there's like three of them connected. KB, BBA, and AF. So you don't have to look at them because I'm not going to make any suggestions, but these all have to do with MSIP 6. And so I was going to call you and have a conversation with you about this, Judy. So the way it works is, lawmakers make laws, state statutes, and then entities, agencies are granted the power of promulgating rules that essentially become laws. So these are rules, you have to follow them. And DESE's not one of those agencies. DESE brings their recommendation to the Board of Education, and then the State Board of Education, for example, MSIP 6, MSIP 5, right, every edition. So these are rules. So then MSIP 6 is brought to the State Board of Education, who then agrees on it, and that becomes a rule. But before it can become a rule, it has to go to JCAR, which is the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules, because to prevent agencies from creating laws on their own, right? From becoming too powerful. So, and JCAR is a subcommittee. It's like a group of legislators who, over a 30-day period, look at the rules and approve them, and there's a process. There's like a public hearing and blah, blah, blah. They have their own process. And then it goes to the Secretary of State, and it gets written into the rules. And then every 5 years, JCAR has to look at it again, because that's how rules work. Because if some agency created a rule, it has to be looked at by JCAR, and every 5 years, it gets looked at again. That's just how the process is. So MSIP 6, and one particular component of MSIP 6 is troubling to me, because it's a rule that violates state statute. In my opinion, that makes it invalid, because you cannot override state statute by a rule by an agency. So what happened, I believe, I don't know, I'm going to I'm in the process of sunshining JCAR to get the minutes of the 2020 meeting of MSIP 6 and the process by which all the documents of how that got through, because it happened February of 2020, and if you recall, COVID happened in March. And a lot of things happened and a lot of things didn't happen. And its 5-year anniversary is now 2026, and the session ended, and this matter, MSIP 6, did not go before JCAR. So I'm just a little uncomfortable as one board member voting on policies that have to do with MSIP 6, and frankly, I'm really disappointed in MSBA for not advocating for us to make sure that this went through the proper rulemaking process. And so I'll let you guys know what my sunshine request shows, but I don't think I'm going to be able to support any more MSIP 6 policies. I'm just not comfortable with it.
I just want to make sure I understand. You're referring to BBA,
So all the ones
and
that,
KB?
yeah, all the ones that in their verbiage say, we're doing this to align with MSIP 6. And it's BBA, AF,
Right? I want to make sure we have the right
you know,
one.
in the little titles, they say that. It's
Okay.
just you know, this is what happens when it's your 5th year and you start learning more and more, and you get engaged, and you're like, boy, what did I just stumble on?
Well, there's a
I mean,
lot.
there's a lot, and it's my little hang-up for now. Just wanted to share. And that's it. Gosh, how many, did I do that in under 5 minutes? That's not possible.
We went over the first 5.
Oh.
This is what's left for the second.
Okay, got it. Those Sarah Huff's
There you
5
go.
minutes.
There's Sarah's. Yeah. Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments? Do you have any other on the policies, Miriam?
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I just want to see how many, 12, we had 12, 13, we had 13 policies.
I said, that there's a lot.
There's a lot, okay.
Okay. Very good.
All right. Thank you. And, hold on here.
The great stuff is coming up. Number 6.
Okay. Item 6.01, Student Success Update, End of Year Academic Update. Dr. Nicole Holt is at the podium. Hello.
Hello. As always, thank you to the Board of Education for the opportunity to share the great work that's happening in academics across the district. I always like to preface these conversations by saying I am just the spokesperson that gets to share all of the super exciting work that's happening both under our schools and in our academic departments. So though I'm standing here in front of you, it is a mighty army that stands behind me, not only at the district level, but at the campus level, making these things come to fruition. So to those people that are watching and those that aren't, we thank them, we're thankful for them, and our students are better as a result of the work that they're doing every day. So just want to start that way. And to center us on the strategic plan, which Ms. Stasel already kind of connected back to, but anything that we do or stand in front of you to present or facilitate aligns directly with the priorities that you've identified in the strategic plan. Much of the work that we'll share tonight lives specifically in the space of success-ready students, but I would say a little bit of it ventures into some of the other strategic priorities as well. In addition, specifically in the academic realm, we try really, really hard to align the work that we do with the superintendent's goals annually, and so those live before you on the next several slides. Specifically, this one is about organizational efficiency, but goals 2 and 3 live in the space of success-ready students. This one, obviously, in objective 1.1, speaks to the continuous growth and mastery in all academic areas, which is our primary function as we are a school district. And so we'll talk a lot about strategy C, which is highlighted there, related to common formative assessments and how we utilize that to increase student proficiency. And we'll also talk a little bit tonight about the third goal, which is centered on Objective 1.3, which talks about our ability to offer consistent behavior programming across the district, as well as providing solid and ongoing professional learning to help our teachers implement the code of conduct. So that's the space we'll live in tonight. And here is the roadmap to get us there. So we will start with some current data as of the end of the school year. You are used to hearing from me at the end of the year about the annual needs assessment survey, which is given to our staff and allows them the opportunity to provide feedback to professional learning across the district. We also are adding some attendance data to you, which we don't usually do at this point, but I think there's lots worth celebrating, so we're going to share that. Last year at this time, we brought you for the first time some PBIS data to speak to our implementation. So we have year 2 of that data coming tonight, as well as the first data set at the end of year related to Renaissance, which is our universal screener. Then we'll play in the space of Spotlight Schools, which I know is one of the favorites for our board. So we are covering the PK-12 spectrum tonight. So you will get to hear from early childhood all the way up through our high schools about the amazing things that are happening on 4 of our campuses. And then we will just forecast forward a slight bit with relationship to some current work that we'll update you on, and then future planning. So that's where we're headed. So in the data space, I already mentioned that we'll start with professional learning and the needs assessment survey and provide you some data there. We'll then move into PBIS, and the 2 metrics that we look at are the tiered fidelity implementation walkthrough and classroom management tools. So we'll talk about those. We'll talk about attendance, and I'll give you a little 101 reminder on average daily attendance and proportional, as well as highlight some data. And then we'll end the data section with some Renaissance pieces. So as we play in the space of professional learning, this is the 5-year trend for the professional learning needs assessment survey and our participation rates. So you'll note that we saw significant improvement in 2024 and 25 related to participation in taking the assessment. We have a slight dip this year, and that is because the professional learning committee made the decision to require open-ended responses. So teachers that took the survey were not allowed to click past unless they were providing more information to us in an open-ended response. So we anticipate that that may have lowered some teachers' desire to continue and persist through the survey. However, we did get really rich and robust responses to the open-ended, which we haven't seen before. So just a little caveat there to that data. And then as we begin to look into the individual metrics, the first slide here really highlights the thinking around increasing student achievement. So the graph on the left talks about teachers' perception of professional learning being essential to student achievement. So you can see really steady data coming in there. And then I have evidence that it has increased as a result of what I am doing as a result of district professional learning. So we saw a nice gain there of 7% increase from last year to the current year. Then we begin to talk about professional learning at both the site and district level. So this is equipping our staff for success. And we saw an increase with 5% looking to the district side, and site remaining just a little bit increase there on that. So both at the site and district level, our staff are saying that it's giving them what they need to implement what they should be doing in our classrooms. And then we move again to differentiation. This is a topic that we hear a lot about when we talk to teachers. And so we want to make sure that we're measuring our metric related to how differentiation is happening. So you can see strong metrics again here about differentiation by role, more increase there at the site level, which we would expect as we continue to tailor the learning that happens both at our staff meetings, but also in our professional learning teams, and then district data is staying consistent. Speaking of open-ended responses, the past 3 years, you've heard us share a little bit about shifts in professional learning based on feedback. So here you see this top 7 responses when asked about what specific professional learning resulted in increased student achievement. So we're excited again to see professional learning teams as a top response for things that are helping them to support students in classrooms. I'll also call out Teach Forward as landing in the top responses, and that's what we do annually to prepare our teachers to be equipped to walk into their classrooms at the beginning of the year. And I'll also call out backwards planning. So this is a direct result of feedback that we've been hearing through Superintendent Solutions, that our elementary teachers specifically needed more opportunities for planning and preparing for instruction. And so the learning that they're doing on those days that we're providing them is becoming something that's fruitful and they see as increasing student achievement. So now we're going to move into attendance. So just a reminder about the two pieces of attendance data that we look at as a district. Average daily attendance is one metric that we monitor, and that's just the percent of time that our students are in our classrooms so that they attend school. That purpose is funding. So that is the metric that we get funding off of. Proportional attendance is the weighted percentage of attendance for 90% of the time. So you hear the term 90 of 90, which is what we want. 90% of our kids here 90% of the time. And that proportional attendance is what's used for accountability. So that's the attendance metric that is used for MSIP 6. So I just want to situate you in those two pieces of attendance before you see the data. So we're very happy with our attendance data and the work that has gone on at the campus level to help our students be in attendance more frequently. So the charts that you see show by campus what percent, right, of campuses had increased in daily average attendance and proportional attendance. So 27 out of 29 of our elementary campuses saw an increase in both. 9 out of 10 of our middle school campuses saw an increase in both, and all 5 of our traditional high schools saw an increase. Studi also saw an increase in ADA, but their proportional attendance looks different. So huge celebrations here when we think about continuing to increase the time our students are attending, which we know results in heightened student achievement. Well, you guys kind of didn't react to that, and we were screaming when we were looking at the numbers. Yeah, super exciting work. So, we did. We did. Yep. Yep.
I want the general public to understand that is huge,
It is.
huge.
And we did a presentation at MSBA about this.
Yes.
We did.
And I feel like it was premature because I kind of want to do it next year, because then we'd have the data, right? We talked about what we were
Right.
going to do.
Right.
And what we were doing, but we didn't have the results quite yet.
Right.
Hey, it turns out the windows to submit MSBA proposals closes on June 12th.
Okay.
So if we need to submit another presentation, we can.
Wow.
So every month at senior leadership meeting, we look at year-over-year attendance as a team. And so I just pulled the data from our last meeting, which was on May 4th. Of course, we had school up and through the end of May, but this was the data at that point. So this is district. So when you think about all of our elementaries for ADA, we were up almost 1% at the elementary division. We were up 1.25% at middle school and K-8, and up just under 1% at high school, with a total district increase of over 1%. So not only is it happening at individual buildings, but you can see the roll-up and impact at a district level, which we know supports us as we think about accountability metrics for MSIP 6. So important information to share. And because we love to use this opportunity to brag, I felt like you should see some of our top increases, both when we think about ADA and proportional attendance. You'll see some overlap for campuses, because what we know is when proportional increases, then our ADA increases, also our proportional increases. But just looking at some of those double-digit gains in some places is truly only the people that are on the campus making those connections with families and supporting getting students to school so that they can have access to the guaranteed and viable curriculum and sound instruction from our teachers. So I think definitely worth celebrating. So as we move out of that really good data, we're going to move into some other really good data when we think about PBIS. Again, this is a slide that you saw in a similar format last year, just reminding you that PBIS is our framework for supporting student behavior across our district. This is year 3 of implementing PBIS. And the data we get through the tiered fidelity inventory as well as the classroom management tool is speaking to implementation. So how well we are implementing on campuses and at a school-wide level. So the TIFI, or the tiered fidelity inventory, it speaks to school-wide implementation, so what's happening across the campus. And the classroom management observations tool speaks specifically to what's happening in individual classrooms. So those are the two pieces. So when you think about the TIFI, we're happy to report that all schools are showing evidence of implementation, and that 43 out of 50, which is 86% of our schools, scored 80% or higher with implementation of Tier 1 school-wide. Last year, that number was, make sure I get it right, 56% with 28 schools implementing. So you can see the increase year over year from this year to last, or from last year to this year. So again, this is not SPS individuals walking in and evaluating ourselves. This is an evaluation that's done from outside observers. So our friends at the Agency of Teaching, Leading, and Learning at MSU, as well as the state PBIS consultants, are the ones that provide this data to us. The TIFI is used as the qualifier for the Award of Excellence process, and we'll look at the next slide in a minute, but 21 of our sites will be receiving PBIS Tier 1, 2, or 3 awards in 2026. Last year, we didn't give you any student level data, but today I did, so that you can see some improvement in just areas that we've really been focused on. So students knowing the behavior expectations on their campus is at 81% implementation across the district, which is up 13%. Students are receiving recognition, right? When they are doing the right things they know and are getting recognition for that. That's up 29% from last year. And then students knowing why they're being recognized, right? It's one thing to be receiving it, but knowing the why behind it is up 26%. So incredible data coming out there. And then here it is year over year, also by division. So what you're seeing here is that 100% of our elementary schools are implementing 80% or higher, 90% of our middle schools, and 83% of our high schools. So really positive data. Speaking of the Award of Excellence, here are the campuses that will be coming to a board meeting near you very soon in the fall to be recognized for Tier 1. You can see on the far left, and then 2 and 3. So 21 schools have completed that process. That number last year was 8, so we're up 13 more schools that are being recognized for their exemplar work related to implementation of PBIS. The other tool is the classroom management observation tool. So again, 100% of schools, so that's 50 out of 50, showed 80% or higher implementation. These are around the 8 effective practices that we see being observed in classrooms. So active supervision and opportunities to respond are the strongest strategies that teachers across the system are using, but all of the practices scored 89% or higher. And we saw significant improvement in posted expectations and teaching of expectations, which you saw in the school-wide data on the prior slide. And again, year over year, by division, you already knew that this was going to look this way because I told you 50 out of 50, so there it is in another way. So again, attendance, they have to come to school to have access. PBIS, we have to provide them the framework for what we expect it to look like and be safe and orderly inside of our campuses and classrooms. And then we get to what happens as a result of those two things, which is assessment, how our students are performing related to academic content. So just another quick reminder, summative and formative are the two types of assessment. You've heard this for the last, 6 years since we've been talking to you? But I just wanted to remind you that we're going to live in that space as we talk about not only end-of-year assessment for our internal metric, but thinking through what will come back for MAP and EOC. So here's our assessment calendar, and you know that our students participated in April and May in our end-of-year STAR assessments, which is the name of the assessment provided in Renaissance. So you can see not only did they take summative, which is MAP and EOC, but they also took STAR, which we would say across the school year is formative, but also provides us to some degree a little bit of information predictive-wise on how they might score on their state assessment. We also continue to offer district common formative assessments by quarter that also shape and guide what we expect to see on our summative assessments. So just refreshing you with how we assess students across our grade levels. And then this is a slide that you saw at BOY, but I know you've slept a lot since then. So just putting it back in the forefront, really the two pieces I'll key in here are the purposeful and predictive elements of Renaissance. So how it is being utilized in our system to inform the instructional decisions day to day, week to week, month to month, and eventually year over year. But also its predictability to let us know to some degree where we might land on our end of year state assessments. So what you see in front of you first is proficiency, right? So we assess in both reading and math. And what we're seeing with our end of the year data is that we are estimating that 51% of our students will score at or above the state benchmark based on what we saw at end of year for STAR. That percentage is 41 for students in math. So just a couple other data points. If this is predictive for MAP, which we believe it will be very close, last year at this time, our reading data, our MAP scores were at 47% for reading and 43% for math. So that would show increases of 4% in reading and potentially 2% in math. And the BOY change, so Nicole, what were we at the beginning of the year? In reading, at the beginning of the year, we were at 33.2, so 8% growth. Crystal was giving me a hard time earlier because my font was so small here. She's like, I don't know how you read that. Well, I can't right now. 8% growth from the beginning of the year. And math was 45.7. Is that right? Or am I in the wrong one? 45.7. Yep. So you can see the growth happening across that as well. So we're hopeful that this will be predictive based on what we know now. And then we also provided the data for you on STAR for proficiency rates by division. So what you see is both content areas, all the divisions, what we had at BOY, and what we see at EOY and the change. I won't point out the color because you all can see, but we're very hopeful that these will hold and be support, because what this means is our kids are learning the content and they're having what they need at a higher rate to move to the next grade level. You're okay. Yeah, I think my math is wrong. Yep. Yep.
You meant 38, right?
My notes say BOY math 33.2 and BOY reading at 45.7. Yes, I reversed them
No,
when I
you
read
said
them.
last year, this time, the
So
math.
MAP scores that came back official in October of last year had our reading at 47.2,
Okay, and then for math?
43.3.
So math
Yeah,
dropped, because you said math
slightly.
went up.
Sorry.
Slight drop in math,
Yep.
increase in reading. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, sorry.
Makes sense?
Yep, it
Okay.
does now.
So then we'll shift to growth because you know we get held accountable for both, not only the proficiency rate or status, but also our growth. So just a reminder about student growth percentile, which is comparing growth from beginning of year to end of year against the growth of their academic peers. So this is the normative piece, nationwide, who have similar testing history. So that means if Judy Bruner took BOY, MOY, and EOY, she would be compared to all other students at that grade level that also took all three assessments, right? So it has to be same assessment, same time, and the full set for them to be in the comparison. So just, that's a little bit tricky. So you can see the data here for growth. So 54% typical growth in reading across the system, and magically, it's also 54% typical growth in math, which is an oddity, but interesting nonetheless. We would obviously want that number to be higher, but 50% is kind of, we want to see up above 50%. So we're happy that that is where that data landed as well. And here's the divisional. You're saying, why is there not student growth percentage for last year or because this is our first year of utilizing the screener. So we'll give you what we have for SGP for the end of year by division. Okay. And because I always like to have new and exciting things in my back pocket, I told you, Joe, earlier when we talked, early childhood data is something that we haven't shared at a board meeting like this before. And so a little bit of early childhood data for you. This is, obviously they do not take our STAR assessments, but they do take the desired results development profile, which is a Missouri approved assessment that they utilize in early childhood. It also has 3 data points and really provides against a rubric for us to know kindergarten readiness. So what you see right here is the literacy standards pulled out. So there are more standards that are measured on the DRDP, but these are the literacy standards showing growth for our early childhood campuses. Just like our other K-12 campuses prioritize essential standards, this is essentially those essential standards, and you can see the growth that's happening year over year, and you can notice up to 44% growth in specific standards. So pretty amazing work that's happening in our early childhood, which is why we invited one to be here to share with you tonight. And here are the rest of the essential standards that some were listed on the prior slide. And this is showing growth from beginning of this current year to end of this year by standard. This data is only our students who will be attending kindergarten in SPS. So in the Wonder Years program or in our early childhood programs that will be coming to us in kindergarten next year. So the data there speaks for itself as well. Beginning of year to end of year. Yep. Yeah. We could all use some learning in that, yeah? Yeah. So now I get to be quiet for a little bit, and I get to let you hear from the amazing people on our campuses that are doing the work. So I would invite all of our schools to make their way to the front and find your table tents. It's a full house tonight. Remember when you told me to make my font bigger? That would have been helpful. Where's Cherie? Oh. So we invited, again, PK-12 Continuum to share their stories with you tonight. And so we have educators and staff members from early childhood from Arthur Mallory. We have elementary representation from Cowden Elementary. We have Westport Middle School and Hillcrest High School that we will feature in here from tonight in our school spotlight section. So I will introduce each principal and then they will take it from there. They know that they have somewhat of a time limit, but again, I want them to share the amazing work that they're doing because it is really making an impact on our students. So Shannon Jenkins is the proud principal at Arthur Mallory Early Childhood Center, and I'll let you introduce your team.
The DDIS that works with us at Mallory. And then I brought Beth Williamson, who is a current Wonder Years teacher at our site. So at Arthur Mallory, we are set up a little bit differently than the other early childhood centers in that I only have 3 Wonder Years classrooms, and those are all students who will go into kindergarten the following year. Then the remainder of my 10 classrooms there are all special education classrooms. So 6 of those are just, if there is typical, early childhood special education classrooms, and then I have 4 that are early childhood special education intensive support, and those are students that require a lot more adult support due to their significant needs in the classroom. So my makeup's a little bit different as we look at my data. All right. So if you take a look at this, this is my building data over a 3-year time frame. I am just completing my 2nd year with the district. So you can tell that when they started with the process in 2024, our scores were primarily in that red area. Over the last 2 years and even prior to me coming, we've done a lot of work with those DRDP essential standards. So we have dived deep into those. We collect data from the beginning of the school year till mid-October to get our first beginning of the year, and this is all observational data. So we ask our teachers to collect 3 pieces of evidence to show that the student can or can't or is continuing to work on one of these skills. And then we do that again from October to end of May, collecting additional data to show that progress over time. So you can tell that we have grown significantly in some areas. We definitely have some more areas of growth to continue to work on. But I heard somebody earlier talk about copes with frustration as the lowest. You have to remember, these are 4 and 5-year-olds who are going into kindergarten. And again, just the fact that the majority of my students do have special education needs, and a lot of them are there for social emotional skill learning. So I'll let Robin take it from there.
So when we see gains like this, especially in an exceptional population like this, we have a really great opportunity to dig in and see what is really making that happen so that we can replicate it in other early childhood centers and for everybody. So what we know is that professional learning teams, or PLTs, really work. It's time for collaboration built into the school day where teachers become the students of the standards. When we asked Mallory teachers at the end of the school year about their PLT experience from this year, 97% of them said that their PLT helped them unpack the standards and implement our curriculum with fidelity. It helped them break down standards into all of their prerequisite skills, and they appreciate that they feel prepared to meet their students' needs, whatever they may be. On that same survey, 94% of Mallory teachers agreed that their PLT helped them understand what proficiency looks like and how to choose the best tools to measure both proficiency and progress toward kindergarten readiness.
All right, I'm going to piggyback off Robin there and talk about how, as teachers, when we meet like that, now once we understand the standards and know what mastery looks like, then in these PLTs we're able to meet and find more targeted instruction for students based on their individual needs. We can see where those gaps are, areas of needs are, and as we collaborate and look at data, we can easily see, oh, what you're doing is working better than what I'm doing, what are you doing? So we can help find those interventions, and likewise, we can also find then those extensions as well. So our students who are getting it, how can we push them on to the next level? So it really just helps us collaborate and work as a team to see all of the students and all their needs and work together, so.
So over this last year especially, we've worked on breaking those standards down to see where we need to start, at what skill level to work our way down to get them to that one of those final 14 essential standards. And so thus holding all of our students in our room, in our building, regardless of ability, to that same standard of meeting those essential skills before they go on to kindergarten.
Thank you. Next up, we have Shereen Norman, the proud principal at Cowden Elementary. What you see to the right, your left, my right, is their student growth percentile that we talked about in reading and math. So when we see commensurate data happening like this, we take a peek inside to say, what are you guys doing to have growth be happening in both of your content areas at the same time? So Cherie, will you share and introduce us to your team? And then I will hand you the clicker.
So we have Vicki Cook, fifth grade teacher, and her partner next to me, Julie Bartolotti. And then we have DDIS Nicole Park. And then to my left is Lyric Jessing, who is an outgoing fifth grader, but she'll be greatly missed. So I think that the number one pillar of Cowden is culture. And we started building that culture in 2015. We brought in Leader in Me. And then that changed the student culture and the staff culture, but then quickly learned about Ron Clark Academy, and thus began our the path that we're on right now. And I'm going to let Lyric speak next.
Having a house system makes me feel excited to come to school. Houses make a huge impact on students and teachers. There is an opportunity to get to know students in every grade because of the houses. I love the family time we have. We have an opportunity to bond. All houses are encouraging to each other. We lift each other up. No matter which house you are in, we all cheer for each other. There's no toleration for poor sportsmanship. A couple of things that Amistad, the red house, which I'm in, does is make cheers. They also help little kids by mentoring them and helping them learn about the house. It can also help teachers understand students better. Teachers also understand each other better. Teachers in my house I have a connection with, just like students in other houses. It's just an amazing bond and an amazing environment to learn.
So part of how we have increased our data is just like Mallory was saying, is through our PLT meetings and just, I think, embodying what it means to be a true professional learning community across the school and everything that we're doing. And so 2 years ago, whenever we really started this work in our PLT meetings, in order to make the work teachers were doing more streamlined and just aligned with what we're asked to do, we started looking at our essential standards in conjunction with our grade level improvement plan that principals have to collect data and report. And so in our PLT meetings, almost weekly, sometimes there's not updates weekly, but we blew up the GLIP, the grade level improvement plan, and whenever teachers are bringing data, we're looking at it through that lens, okay? So how is the standard looking in proficiency wise? And then if you kind of notice there, this was 2 years ago, this was our chart for how we did this, but we would bring in data for the first teach, and then after we would reteach it, we would relook at the data before moving on. So we did that all the previous year. And then we saw we had some gaps and some things that we still needed to close. And so where we went from there was really looking at what subgroups were we missing. And so what we found when we were looking at all kinds of data, our GLIP data, our MAP data, at the time it was Galileo, now we're looking at STAR, and just our CFAs, was that we were not closing gaps with our SPED population and our EL population. And so some of that is, we've had some hiccups with like our EL intervention not always being consistent, but what do we have control over? We do have control over a lot of things, and some of that's our instruction. And so this year in our PLT meeting, we have been very intentional to bring our SPED team. We don't have an EL teacher on site, so that really has not impacted that. But specifically our SPED team, they are pushing in with the PLT meetings with our grade level teams, and that is allowing a couple of things to happen. It's allowing just communication to happen that is often missed between the SPED world and the Reg Ed world. And then the other thing that it's allowing to happen is just it's really educating our SPED teachers on what Tier 1 instruction looks like in the classroom. Because I think for so long, the special education teaching and world is built around being differentiated at kids' level. And while that's true, most kids, and I think anybody that's been to any kind of professional learning community through the PLC Institute, they have said this over and over, if kids are going to be independent, living and functioning independently one day, then they're expected to know Tier 1 work and be able to show mastery of that. And so it's really hard for SPED teachers to hold kids accountable for Tier 1 work if they don't know what that is. And so just bringing the SPED team into the weekly planning and the weekly work that we're doing has just, it's really equipped them to be better teachers for our kids, and through that we're seeing gaps close. So that's been, I think, a really intentional thing that we've done to close the gaps. And then through that, our SPED teachers are pushing in to provide interventions in that RTI time, which is that response to intervention time. So not only are kids getting seen by their SPED teachers whenever their scheduled time is to go work with them, the SPED teachers are also pushing in different times during the day to our regular ed classes where it would fit, and are providing interventions through like a layered approach that way too. So it's just another way to really bridge the gaps that we were seeing, and I'm hoping, we've seen great things with our district assessments, but we're hoping that trickles over to math.
Okay, so along the lines of what they said about, we decided that we were going to break down the standards to where we better understand them. In January, we decided that Dr. Norman gave us an idea of breaking this, not only the standards down and really understanding it, but also breaking it into the depth of knowledge levels. And so what we started doing in January is we started spiral teaching the standards in DOK levels, the depth of knowledge levels. So with that, each standard, we made sure to have a level 1 and then build to level 2 and 3. Because we figured out that in order for the students to actually fully master the standard, they need to be able to pass the level 3. And that way they can transfer that knowledge into other content areas and out in the real world. So what we did in 5th is we started monitoring the students like for, with their true common formative assessments. We started tracking each student and did they accomplish the level 1 DOK level? And if so, then they would, the next time, we would discuss we would give them the problem level 2. And then when they passed that, we would check that off. And then that way at any particular moment, we could say, this student at this standard, they're at this level, or yes, they've mastered it. And so it looked like we were carrying around the clipboard, just checking that off. But it was really good because it really helped us where we thought the students had it. They may have been missing a part. And that way we could really pull those small groups and really go over it again in the RTI time. But in that process, my co-teacher, the really great thing was we were both doing that and keeping track. And so with the ELA and the math. So we were both monitoring and testing the exact same way so we could compare those.
So what we noticed once we started monitoring and tracking the exact same way, we noticed a really big shift where we truly knew where our students were in each essential standard and at what depth of knowledge they were at. So every teacher will say, yeah, I know where my students are, but that's not true. It's really impossible without tracking and collecting data. There's too many kids, there's too many standards, and there's too many depths of knowledge to keep everything straight. So we began tracking. It was very successful. Dr. Norman could walk in our room and say, where is this child on this essential standard? And we will say, that student's at a DOK2. I can't get him to a DOK3. Can you help out? And so it worked really well. Because of the culture and the growth mindset at Cowden, we are living the PLC process at work. So this collecting data and the PLC process, this is truly how you move kids and close the divide.
For an example, this is one of the math. This is the standard. And then the way it looks is like the DOK1 level would be just the problem itself. But then the DOK2, which is, there's different levels on the MAP test and in STAR. And so the DOK2 breaks it down where it'll give you some answers and you have to choose 3 of them, whether they've been simplified or not. And then the DOK3 is showing the different ways to solve that problem. So it's not just getting the answer, which we've been so used to doing, but now it's like you have to show different ways of solving it. So if they can get to the DOK3 level and pass it, then we really feel like they have mastered that standard altogether. Oh, and here's
and that's just an example of the chart Vicki was talking about that we carried around at all times with us. There's also, you'll notice there's checks and then there's dashes. So a dash would mean the student did not pass it, which would then fall into the reteach, teach, reteach, reteach. And what I love about Cowden the most is if I taught it and a student didn't understand it and I retaught it again and they didn't understand it, the problem doesn't lie with the student. The problem lies with me. So I then go to somebody else and I say, Dr. Norman, help me. I don't know what else to do. I've taught it this way and I've taught it this way. And then she'll do it and then retest the DOK, or our DDIS, Nicole, will do it, or I'll give it to Vicky, or we'll, take it to a fourth grade teacher and let them reteach it. So at some point in time, hopefully, they've gone all the way to the DOK 3.
And it's just about high expectations. We're a very student-centered building. We teach students not only academics, but we teach them how to behave. We teach them the Essential 55, and we teach them soft business skills through the Amazing Chic.
Thank you.
Nicole, can I?
Absolutely.
First, I want to start with the early childhood. Springfield Public School early childhood education is second to none. It's so good. And you have all your test results, but, my little granddaughter attended Shady Dell, and her nickname was Sweetness. But this year in kindergarten, she grew all the way up to her name. She's Cammie. But, what greater success is to see this kid love school and just absolutely mature before your eyes. You might teach the kids, even though they know how to use scissors, not to cut their hair. Just throwing that out. Just throwing that out. And now to Cowden. You're different. You're unique. You're special. You're awesome. You are a choice school, is the way everyone else looks at it. You guys do such a magnificent job. And when you started off by saying, we really stress culture, I just can't tell you enough that seems to make such a difference. I can see the kids helping each other out when somebody didn't get a check mark, they just got a dash. And the fact that you work together all through that, your school is awesome.
So early childhood, elementary, now moving to middle school. So Joanne Height is the proud principal. Year 2.
Just finished 2.
Starting year 3, yep. At Westport K-8, she's here today with her team to talk specifically about some amazing growth they're seeing in the area of mathematics. But I'll let you introduce your team and give you the clicker now.
I get a clicker.
Yeah.
So I brought with me tonight Brandy Compass, Dr. Brandy Compass, who's one of my DDISs, and she oversees math and science and some of our related arts she supports. And then I have Mr. Jeffrey Pettibone, who is my other DDIS. He supports English and social studies, and then the other half of the related arts. And then I brought Miss Heather Behrens, who's our 6th grade math teacher, who's responsible for a very large chunk of that percentage that you see there today. So we just wanted to kind of share that, as Dr. Holt said, this is the end of my 2nd year, and we have very much focused on being systemic in our practices and being very strategic and leveraging the excellence of the people we have in our building to do the work and move that work forward. Trajectory changing has just been my personal motto on the backside of things, and constantly asking the team to do things that shift the trajectory of either what they're doing in their classrooms or how they're thinking about working with our students or working within our community. So we have just been hard pressed and hard working in those areas to be consistent with our expectations. And I finally am seeing some of that data come to fruition in the work that we're doing. So it's a celebration for us as we look about our overall growth. And I'm going to let our DDISs and kind of share what we've seen overall in ELA and math.
So with ELA, our students are showing tremendous growth, and really Heather's on the 6th grade team, and our 6th grade team is rocking it this year. They're really setting up the foundation for those students as they move through our 7th and 8th grades in the upcoming years. So I'm excited to see what comes there. But yeah, we had 49% of our students score at or above typical growth, and that was from fall to spring, with 35.5% showing high growth in that area. Related to that, again, 6th grade I've been so proud with. I can't continue to say that enough. Seeing our data boards in our office, and I know we'll kind of speak to this here in a minute, but our data boards, something that we consistently do across ELA and math is we'll have beginning, middle, and end of the year scores for our STAR scores. And that'll be up on the board. And underneath those, we have our CFA scores, so our common formative assessments that they take for each standard. We have that broke down underneath those STAR scores so that we can compare them side by side in the moment as we're going. And we are looking for commonalities, misconceptions, and again, I know this has been alluded to, but that backwards planning piece has been key to letting our teachers have the time to get in there, really dig in, dive deep, and plan out how am I going to layer in, what am I going to think through as we're teaching. So that's been super awesome to see with our students.
Well, he shared a lot of what I was going to say, but I can't say how proud I am of our math students. I mean, we're looking at a 70.5% of our student population in math at being at or above the typical growth from fall to spring, which I find very phenomenal. That's 56.2% of our students showed high growth. I'm hearing students in the hallways talk about how they can't wait to go to math class. And as educators, most of us know you don't hear that very often, but it is something we are hearing in the hallways. So,
and I will say, from the leadership standpoint, I think one of the biggest keys has been consistency in teachers. Depending on how familiar you are with Westport, we have previously had a very high rate of teacher turnover. I think the first year I came in, I was one of 50 new staff members in the building. This last year, we are at 10 new staff members building-wide. So one of the key celebrations is this is the first time in, I think, 5 years, maybe 6, I can't remember the exact number, that our 6th grade team has had 0 turnover. Most years, that 6th grade team, every team member leaves and we get a whole new 6th grade team. So we're finally seeing a lot of hard work and dedicated adult work coming to fruition, and we're seeing it in our students and the love that they're beginning to find in their own learning. So as we look specifically at grade level, that was like our overall percentages, but as we look at specific grade level growth, you can start seeing that 6th grade trend for the last 2 years, those consistent teachers in that consistent class, we're starting to see that growth of 73%, 74%. And so our hope is next year that 8th grade number will again come up because we're now having consistent math instruction over time. And I think with the support of our DDIS, this will be Brandy's 3rd year with us as well, bringing in some high intensity math instruction and really focusing on that tier 1, I think is where we're starting to see our kids find themselves and find their love of what they're capable of doing. And again, our focus at Westport is on growth. It's not about an A. It is not about proficient or advanced always. It is about, I went from the beginning of the year to, oh my goodness, I've made it here. And our kids are speaking that language. They're speaking about the growth, and we're tracking that growth for them to see. And that's one of the things as a Leader in Me school we started this year, is our students are becoming the leaders of their own learning, and they're very much focused on what does this mean for my growth? I didn't get there yet, and now I can do these things to get there. So we're very proud of the work that we're doing, and I'm going to let Ms. Behrens kind of talk specifically about what she does in her room. She has her own little data board, so I'll let her kind of talk to what she does with her kids.
I saw a huge interest in students just wanting to track their growth and wanting to know how much growth they did. At the beginning of the year, I was like, oh, we're not going to pay too much attention to this. But then once I did, the students just really showed their interest in their learning, and I was allowing them to make positive phone calls home when they scored, when they showed growth on their end of year STAR testing, and that was something they were so excited to do. Every single kid was like thrilled to get to make that phone call, and I had parents crying on their phone because they were so excited that their kid was interested in math and showing the growth and trying hard. And it was a lot of fun.
So ELA, again, we're seeing similar growth rates. We have dips, obviously. Our ELA classes, most of our students, as they have come through the K-8 continuum, are typically 2 to 3 grade levels behind, a very high percentage of our students. And so for our students to see this amount of growth, 50% of growth from the beginning of the year, means we're catching them up faster than they are used to, and they're becoming closer to grade level. So our hope is, as we see this trend from the beginning to the end of the year, we're going to start seeing that movement in our MAP scores as well. And so the CFA data, Mr. Pettibone can kind of speak to specifically, but we're seeing this trend from the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade as well.
Yeah, and I would add, you guys can read the screen. I won't read it for you. But I will add that we mentioned the goal setting piece and students tracking their own data. So after each one of those tests, they set a goal for the following test, what they want to attain. We try to keep it, within the SMART goal idea, something that is attainable. And whenever they take that next test, they're given their score, they track it, and determine, what their growth is. Now, with any test, a score means nothing, right? But what's nice about Renaissance is it does provide a grade level equivalency. So if a student doesn't try hard on the test, they might, get, say, a 700. Okay, whoop-de-doo, what does a 700 mean? It doesn't mean a whole lot. But when you look at that grade level equivalency and now they see, oh my goodness, that's a 3rd grade first month? I'm a 7th grader. I can do better than that. Now they are working harder, and it's intrinsic motivation to reach that goal. And so they're setting that goal and they are trying to get there. Now we do provide a little extrinsic motivation as well. We provide treats. If you grow by even 1%, by one point, you're getting rewarded for that. If you have exceptional growth, you're scoring an SGP. That's what what we've been looking at tonight. If you have an SGP of 50 or higher, you're going to get an even bigger treat or reward. So we are also providing those as a PBIS, kind of rewarding that hard work. You put in the hard work, here's what you're going to get. As adults, when we put in hard work, we get a paycheck, right? And we want those raises. So that's how, throw that in there. So that's how we are working with our students as well. And they are really buying into it. They are doing the hard work, and they are doing far better than, many people probably have expected. So we're very proud of them.
So I am going to ditto everything that all of the other previous presenters have said about our PLTs and the dedicated and hard work that our teachers are doing in leveraging each other and collaborating around. I couldn't get Billy there today. I used all the tools in my tool belt. Who's got something I can try with Billy? Well, maybe I'm just going to send Billy across the hall and you've got that tool because Billy's going to connect with you and find it. And our teachers are diving in to that work and really utilizing each other for support. And they're coming to our DD. Can you guys come in my room? Can you show me how to do this? Can you really be present and help us facilitate a conversation even with our students? So we're just getting down to some of the nitty-gritty of great teaching, which I think is re-energizing a lot of our staff in the work that we do with our kids. And so just kind of to hand this off to Hillcrest quickly, Where our next steps are and where our continued focus is going to be is on our interventions for kids, being really targeted and extremely focused on the standards and moving those kids and intervening on those kids where they are, as they were speaking, to DOK levels. At the middle school level, we're pulling them in. If they didn't get there, we're reteaching, we're reassessing, we're reteaching, we're reassessing, and we're doing it differently. It's not the same lesson or the same activity, it's doing it differently. Really focusing, thank you to the board for our strategic funds and providing our teachers at Westport extensive PD that is specific to our campus and to the needs of our community. We are getting a lot of positive feedback on what we offered last year. We've tweaked it, took their feedback from last year's sessions. We've tweaked it even more, and we're developing more backwards planning this year for them to be able to do. We are continuing on our Leader in Me journey, where next year, K-8, we will have Leader in Me binders. Each student will have their own binder. They will be tracking kindergarten through 8th grade, each of their learning goals or their learning targets, and they will be knowledgeable about where they are in their learning, and they will be able to speak to that. Now, obviously, that looks different in kindergarten than it does in 8th grade, but I think you will say if you've ever been in my K-8 building and you walk the hallways, we transition real well between the grade levels and speaking their language in a way that they need it. So we're going to continue that work. We're going to continue focusing on our student goals and our leadership teams. Our students are leading the work, and our teachers are helping facilitate that work. So that is our journey as we have made it so far at Westport.
Thank you. And bringing us home at the end of the table is the crew from Hillcrest. So Rob Kroll is the proud principal of Hillcrest High School and has 2 teachers with him. They're going to speak a little bit to the growth that they're seeing at the high school level. And I would be remiss while I have the microphone not to acknowledge that they are our first model PLC at work high school in the district. So.
All right, so like Dr. Holt said, my name is Rob. Kayla Fremming, she is our English department head, and she does an amazing job running all things English. And Chris Wood, he is our social studies department head, and it does an amazing job as well. Both of them have been so critical in the work that we've done in transforming as a model PLC at work. Additionally, like Cowden, we brought along one of our outgoing alumni, Mr. Jimmy Farrell over here. He'll be speaking a little more in depth about his experiences on the Hill. So we should be good to go. Key words that I want you to always remember whenever you talk about Hillcrest is ensuring all. That is what we believe. That is what this journey is all about. We are not there yet. We're moving towards that. Ensuring all. That's what it's all about. And so whenever you interview for a position at Hillcrest, and whenever you sit in any kind of a conversation, be it an evaluation, be it a staff meeting, whatever it might be, we talk about you have to be a person who is going to ensure all. And that's what we're all about, and trying to do that. And so we want to just zoom out and tell you a little bit about the big picture about how we got to where we are right now. And that is by beginning by just trying to take a shot in the dark, just looking for that silver bullet. What is it going to be? What is it that we can do to try to turn the tide? Just the trajectory of some of our academic data was not going in the right direction. So we began by looking at opportunities. What can we do with intervention? How can we do it differently? How can we go away from the opting into the you can't opt out of intervention type of approach? And so we explored with that, and we implemented some things called flex time. But after kind of like stumbling around in the dark for a little bit, we decided that maybe we need to back up and make a whole philosophical change. It's not about tweaking a schedule. It's not about implementing a new program. It's about starting over with our mission and our vision at Hillcrest. And that's why I started with the ensuring all piece. And that's really what we did back in 2022. We're not going to be a school who provides. We're going to be a school who ensures. And we're not going to just do the ones that want to be there. We're going to reach out to every single student that comes across our path. And so we redid everything. We overhauled everything around this concept, philosophical idea, and then we built our structure. So starting over, so to speak. And then in 2023, we doubled down on it. We wrote those collective commitments out, the work that we're going to be dedicated to. And then we started to tightly hold all accountable to that. And so that's just kind of an overview. And then since then, we've just tried to build on that work every single year and really trying to do our best to become a model PLC at work. I'm still talking.
No, you're
that's
not.
me.
I am, but
You're
I don't want the
talking.
clicker.
Oh, I got it. Thank you.
Is this mine or is this yours?
This is me?
Yeah,
Oh,
this
it's still me.
is you. This is still you.
Guaranteed and viable curriculum is the way that we collaborate. And that's really, I'm going to be honest, like, this is a lot to do with our district curriculum. They're doing a really good job, guys. I mean, and I don't know if you guys have had the opportunity to see them, but they have put a lot of this together. To be able to accelerate to the ability to become a model PLC, it's not going to happen without a district curriculum office doing the work that they're doing. And so kudos to them. They put this stuff together for us, and then we're able to roll it out. They take a lot of feedback. The two that are sitting here with me right now have had a big part to play in a lot of the curriculum that we utilize. But again, that leadership has been pretty pivotal in all the work that we've been able to accomplish and do at Hillcrest. Again, just like what was said down the table, we are done trying to use the force to figure out where kids are at. It's about the data. What does the data say? I don't care what you feel like the kid knows. I want to know what the data says the kid knows. And so we've done that through different approaches, but specifically those biweekly common formative assessments is how we started. And then actionable collaboration. We utilize our late starts. Late starts are very strategic. They're targeted. We are looking at data. We are talking about what standard we're working on. We're looking at what intervention needs to happen. We're answering the 4 questions of a PLC. And then additionally, the last thing I would like to say is that in regards to our guiding coalition, which both Kayla and Chris are members of, one of our big things about our guiding coalition is we don't talk about managerial issues. We talk about learning. And then additionally, our assistant principal, specifically led by Jackie Hill, she has really taken an interest in trying to develop leaders, teacher leaders. And so we spend time in those meetings additionally developing leaders amongst our building, because here's what we know is that it doesn't matter how much I want to do this work and see this stuff happen. If it's not collectively owned, if as a building we don't see that this is valuable, then it's not ever going to happen. And so that's the amazing part about having great teachers in our building. So now I think it's your turn, I believe. Is it Chris's turn? It's Chris's turn, like I said. Should have wrote this down.
So as Rob is talking about, all the infrastructure that had to go into place, we worked with this Hornet time quite a bit. First it was, well, you can draft them whenever you can, and then we developed this system where we get a spreadsheet where students are separated already into gold, bronze groups, and that's solely based on grades, attendance, and any kind of discipline that they've incurred throughout the year. But then me and Kayla and our biology team and our Algebra 1 team can also draft students. About 12 to 14 is what we try to do. And that's solely based on the CFA data, right? Like you'll have kids who are really trying, they're turning in all the work, and they'll say they're bad test takers, right? And bad test takers are out there, but also it might just mean that they're doing the work without understanding the work. So being able to draft students who are in that gold group is really, really important. Students that you might not notice are having a problem, but you're seeing it on the data, they don't get this standard. So being able to pull them in for 2-week cycles. It was 3 weeks last year. We lowered it down to 2 weeks so that it could be a little bit more responsive. And you could have them take the CFA on a Tuesday and then have them for 45 minutes 4 times a week. And there's, we tried to build in celebrations as part of that. So, taking a CFA on a Thursday. So you're retaking that standard that you failed at last week. And then on Friday, hey, you weren't in gold. Now you can be in gold. You've done the work. You've demonstrated mastery. We can go to the gym. We can go to the library. You can have that incentive time. And for students that are doing everything that they can, they're showing mastery and they're meeting all those expectations. They still have that time to either work on extra work or, I've had kids and it's like 1 or 2. It's not very common, but they have been in a gold group and asked, can I be drafted? into RTI because I really want to learn this. So that's really cool to see, and not something I would have thought would have happened. So, and then you have those bronze groups for those students who do need that extra time, that can talk to that teacher one-on-one. I'm having trouble turning in this assignment. So I do think it hits a lot of what you would like to see for a whole bunch of students. I think we've done a very good job of changing that over the last 3-4 years that we've done it.
Absolutely. And I'd like to add, too, on this RTI piece, this means that every 2 weeks we're resorting the entire building. So, I mean, there's a lot of work to being able to doing that behind the scenes, and it's a lot of work on our teachers to be able to do this work, but it's pretty impressive. Did you want to say anything on that piece?
Well, one thing that is up there, I do want to say that, when we started this, we were lockstep we were giving CFAs every 2 weeks, and that was what we had decided we were going to do. But as we learn and we grow with this process, we figured out quickly what's best for our students is to do it more fluidly with what they are learning. A lot of the standards, some of them have a lot more that go into them. There's a lot more targets within them than others, and so they take more time. But then this past year especially, we started looking at those targets specifically. So if a student is not proficient, we can look at and say, okay, well, look, it's not that they look at it as maybe basic or below basic. We just need to work on these 2 targets within this standard. It's not that you're not getting the entire thing. And so it's a lot more, I think, motivational and encouraging for students and for teachers, honestly, as well, looking at it that way. So we just continue to learn and grow and do what's best for our students, and that's all that matters.
The better that we're getting at the work, the more fine-tuned we're able to do it. And so that's pretty impressive. These are just our raw data comparisons over the last 3 years on our EOCs. And again, raw data means these aren't the official ones, but this is how it's turned out so far based off our raw results. But I couldn't be more proud of the work of our teachers, and then the results and the learning that's happening with our students. And so they speak for themselves, but it's moving in the right direction, and it's really encouraging. And it's not just this type of Tier 1 instruction, really doing this work in the trenches every single day. It also leads to long-term impacts, and that's even connected to the graduation rate that you would see. And so again, just things that we're extremely proud of. The 99 is not official yet, but it's, if you ask Jackie Hill, it's official, but it's pretty darn close. We're expecting to see a 99% graduation rate, which I couldn't be more excited about. And so again, all means all. That's the direction, and that's where we want to go. Future-wise, just looking at it, we want to get better at collaborating, and you can read some of the ways that we want to do that up there, but we want to get better at that through grading, through grade books, late work policies, just being common in all areas. I want to keep taking teachers to PLC at Work conferences. There's something about whenever you're immersed in that environment that you walk out and there's these light bulbs that happen. And so we want to continue to do that. We've taken a lot of teachers, and we're going to continue to do that over the next several years as part of our plan. Our guiding coalition, continuing that focus on developing leaders. Strong instruction, deep engagement, great appropriate assignments, and high expectations. That was last year's focus. That will be this year's focus. That will probably be next year's and the year after that's focus. I feel like if we can do that well, we can continue to move the ball in the right direction. And then finally, we want to get better at RTI. I think we're doing a good job at it right now, but again, until all are met, we have got to figure out a way to grow that piece. But also, we've got to get better at, instead of just letting kids incentivize whenever they're doing a good job, we want to learn to get better at enrichment. And so those are a couple of next steps for us.
Hey, 70 slides. That's what I want to remind you. I wasn't going to add another one. Rob, you want to talk about your attendance video with the championship belt?
Oh my word. You were really going to show
We were going to put it in.
Well, I'm sure he's watching right now, but Rich Dameron has gone like crazy above and beyond with tons of efforts to just draw a spotlight to attendance. And so as we were coming into our EOC end of year testing time, he came up with an idea of attendamania, He owns like an actual
WrestleMania.
WWE belt. It's like not plastic, it's real.
I'm sure he also has
And of course, whenever Dr. Wynn came by, he donned her with this belt. He won't let me wear it, but he let her wear it, which I don't really understand
And
that.
Dr. Perry, too,
And
both of
Dr. Perry, everybody but me gets to wear the attendance belt. But it was a pretty big deal. But what it's done is it's drawn a lot of attention to attendance. He incentivizes it at cafeteria times, and then additionally on top of that, we have seen significant growth in attendance. And as you pointed out, Dr. Berner, it's so true that those are really hard metrics to move. Yep. Academic data is super hard to move, and attendance data is super hard to move. There are no gimmicks that are going to move those things. And whenever you see that kind of progress that we've been able to see, it's due to a lot of hard work by a lot of really good people.
So board members, these lovely individuals you have before you are just a sampling of the awesome things that are happening on our campuses across the system, but they chose to be here on a day or evening when they are technically no longer working, except for my principals who are working. But, so if you have questions or comments for them, we'll do that now and then send them on their merry ways.
Please, Dr. Mahavakani. I'll start over there. I'll start at that end. I'll be quick. I had a question because this is the first time that we are seeing early childhood data, and the numbers for, I'd have to scroll back, they're pretty dismal for 24. I mean, the growth has been ginormous, and thank you. But I have a question. How much of that, and I don't want to discount the work that's being done, but do you think a part of that is that the kids that were, I mean, look at that, 28%. I mean, these are just awful. But could that have been the COVID factor? Because the kids that are in 24 in school, they're the ones who were one. They were, learning acquisition begins in that, you know, it starts there and people are masked, kids are not going to the park. Could a part of that be that we actually are, you know, have an opportunity to work with kids that had a more normal early developmental years? Could that play into this?
We definitely saw some dips in student achievement, but also I think a lot of this speaks to just the ambiguity of our assessment and really understanding.
Okay. Because I know we weren't really at 23%. I know that we were doing much better than that.
I think that we probably were doing better than that, but I also think that sometimes we can tell ourselves a story about what a child is capable of, and we sometimes set the bar at a lower level than what we might think that they could achieve. So I think that there's a lot of different things going on there. I think one is, do the teachers really understand what mastery looks like? And then the other one is, are we putting in the interventions that we know need to happen in order for the student to make progress? And then finally, is there maybe a dip because of the student not having the interactions that they might have had or we might have seen in previous years, and now even still continuing to see the adults, it may have some distractions in the household, and the children may have distractions that are not increasing the number of interactions that are happening with books or with conversations.
Well, these numbers look great. I mean, thank you. It's
Dr.
incredible
Davis,
work.
Can you introduce yourself? Some board members might not know who you are.
Hi, I'm Christy Davis. I'm the Director of Early Childhood.
Thank you. For Team Cowden, Nicole Park, I really enjoyed listening to you talk about the gaps and deficiencies and how you targeted the issues with SPED and solving it, because, you know, to be able to call it out is part one. And thank you so much for sharing that with us, where you saw the gap and how you went to correct it with the team. That was, thank you for that. And then number two was the team effort. The ability to, Ms. Bartolotti to say, I can't do this. I've tried it. I'm going to walk over to Miss, Vicki Cook, and she's going to, thank you. That's really what it comes down to. I have Westport. Wow, 2 comments. Your statement about teacher retention was so impactful because of the work that we do to invest in teachers and retaining them, because that is really important, especially with the population that attends Westport, having that stability and to getting to know the families, because there will be more than one child from one family. And so when they get to know the teacher and the expectations, even though system-wide we have the same rules, but there are some differences with teachers. So that's really important for the families and builds that bond. So thank you for recognizing that. It helps us because we invest a lot and hope to achieve, to move the bar on that. And number 2 really spoke to me when you talked about student buy-in and student ownership. And then you talked about kids, Mrs. Behrens, when you said you weren't really into it, but then you discovered that kids really liked that. And that's something that I've talked about in the past, specifically with Dr. Lathan, and that kids really love racing and competitions, including with themselves. And there was a shift that we saw with education that was moving away from testing kids. We don't want to stress them out. We don't want them to feel bad. And that shift, and it started with leadership, all the leaders at this table and the leadership here, and as it filtered down, which is, let's go back to, we know that data works, and we know the methods that worked 20 years ago, and that kids really thrive with that. They like competing with themselves and seeing where they are. So I really enjoyed listening to you guys talk about that. Thank you for sharing that. And yes, leadership really matters. The leaders here, brave, intentional. I saw her tap at you. Yeah, you too. I've known you the longest. So thank you, leaders. And then I'm going to finish off with Hillcrest. Sometimes you just have to go back and rewrite the plan. And I don't see brave leaders doing that often, right? Usually that happens when there's a shift in leadership, but you'd already been principal, you'd examined it, so kudos to you. A complete overhaul, you planned it, you named it, and then you went after it. And the results are showing. And thank you for calling out the curriculum team and the good work that they do, because I do think that was a key component. Dr. Lathan and her team have been very intentional about that. And for you all to recognize it is, that is a key component. And I think I understood the difference between RTI and bronze and all that. I personally like hearing those details. And so I thank you for bringing the nitty-gritty that sometimes you think, the board doesn't want to hear about that. Well, I want to hear about it. And I enjoyed hearing about it. So thank you for taking time out of your schedule to come and tell us about your students and your journey.
Other questions? Coach Provence?
When I talked about the early childhood programs, the pre-K, you get every kindergartner to start on grade level. They never drop behind. They're not behind. They're always ready to go ahead. And what you addressed at Westport is phenomenal, because you have to change their expectation. If they're used to make a mistake, give up, and to change that expectation, that's the hardest job. Congratulations. Westport has done terrific. Rob, I wouldn't have given you that belt either. I've seen you shoot an arrow.
Listen.
It never got it back without a hole in it.
Let's just keep that between us, all right? This is romance.
Hillcrest has done a great job. I can't say enough about you guys. I do have a Hillcrest archery shirt. Do you own one?
I'm sure I do. I own a lot of them. Yes.
Is that the official?
Maybe I don't. I don't know. Yes.
Just saying, dude. I love Hillcrest too.
Yes, I do too. I know you do.
Board Member Smart?
I just want to say thank y'all for being here tonight. Again, y'all could have been doing something else, but thank you for bringing the information. It is just, I am just in awe of your dedication, your hard work, the way that you care about these students. I mean, I know that, but just listening to y'all talk, it's just, I'm just in awe, and I'm so impressed by everything that you do, and it's so exciting to see the progress that's being made, and so thank y'all for letting us know that, and I agree with Dr. Muhammad Khani. We love the details, and we love hearing what you're doing, and so thank you very much.
I wrote down certain phrases and vocabulary that I heard mentioned this evening, but one of the things, Dr. Height, that will resonate with you is an old phrase from us. This is a group that knows how to work the problem. You look at what the issues are and you work the problem. You don't get bound up in what you can't control. You focus in on what you can. I mean, we can spend a lot of time talking about, I can't do anything about this and I can't do anything about it. You focus on what's there and you work the problem. That is huge. That is huge. And I am reminded every time we have one of these presentations about how sometimes people in the general public and even some of our lawmakers, legislators from time to time might think that anybody can teach. Oh my goodness. If anyone ever says that to me again, I'm going to remember this board and I'm going to send them the link to listen to all that you all do to get kids to where they need to be. That's incredible. That is incredible. It takes time and energy. And to Mallory, we have a very special little boy in our family that attends Fulbright this summer. He's over at Mallory. I want you to know that he's had 2 days of sadness. We even got a photo of him today, sitting at his little table, very sad because his teacher had been gone for a couple of days. Yes. In fact, it made my son want to go pick him up after preschool and take him to go do something fun. So, I mean, it's the total package of what goes on there and the lives that are being changed. And this child, according to his IEP, has an attention span of 4 seconds. So I want you to imagine what that is, okay? We deal with it at family dinners. Spiral teaching, that was a new term to me. Had not thought about it that way. I'm teaching a class at the university. I'm going to use it next Tuesday. I'm going to teach them that term because it really does have meaning in terms of Bloom's taxonomy, Webb's depth of knowledge. It doesn't matter what. You keep moving them up to think more critically and deeper about what it is they're learning. I thought that was huge. At Cowden, you're breaking it down with the houses. You're breaking down the big into manageable parts. So you're not only doing that with the curriculum, but you're doing that with the esprit de corps and how you bring people together. And I'm going to bet I've seen you wear blue before, and we have a young lady here in red. Is your color green? Is your color blue? I mean, that's all they wear are the colors of their houses.
It could be.
Yeah. So, you know, some have belts and some have colors. So there you go. I like the idea, Rob, of ensuring all. That's huge. That, and as long as you all keep going in that direction, you won't miss the mark, ensuring it all. And as, you know, we get reminded sometimes, students have 1 year in your classroom. The 1 year as a 5th grader at Cowden, 1 year as a 6th, you know, you've got a lot of years in those places. Those kids have 1 year with you. So you have to make the best of it. You have to give them your very best. And that's what I see being described here this evening. Leaders of your own learning. I thought that was huge. And teachers are students of the standards. I'm going to remember that, Robin. Teachers are students of the standards. I think those are words to live by, too. Okay, this is a little different than we normally do, but I'm going to ask the board members to join me and go out and shake the hands of every one of
We're not
these.
finished, we gotta show our video.
Oh, I didn't know there was a video.
Well, they didn't, I overruled them, we're showing this video.
Oh, and then we're going to go shake everybody's hand, and I know it'll make the meeting go later, but
We agreed. We were.
Is what it is. It's fine. I hope, did you text Rich? I hope Rich is watching. I hope he's watching.
All right, backstage. We just wrapped up week 1 of Attendamania. We're waiting for our week 1 main event winner, Cornelius Nolan, to show up to try to get a word from our champ. He should be arriving anytime now. Hey, oh, there he is. Big Corn, come on over here.
Hey.
Come on over, man. Good to see you. Congrats on the win. All right. So we're here with Big Corn here.
Yep.
Big Corn, tell me about it, man.
Man, it was great. You know, I showed up on time every day, actually early because of football practice. So it was great. It's been great.
That's awesome, man. That's what we would strive for all of our students.
Yeah.
Hey, did you win anything other than this attendance belt?
Man, I mean, I'm great. So I just win love, obviously. You feel me? And then I got a 7 Root gift card. You know, I'm gonna go get me some coffee, and I just win the Hillcrest Pride Award because I'm just prideful because. Yeah, I love my school.
Love it, man. Love it, man. So Big Corn here, he beat out 363 other students to be our week 1 Attendamania champion. Good luck, champ. Continuing on next week. All right, man?
Yes, sir.
All right, congrats.
Rich Dameron, ladies and gentlemen. Joanne, did you just say that's not it? We ain't doing that. Hey, it's not your vibe. It's okay. It's no big deal. Oh, is he? As I noticed, you look beautiful.
Okay, stay on group photo as we finish shaking out.
Go get a picture. Sorry. Everybody's coming up there for a picture. So I think, are you going on the other side, did she say? Yep, all the other side in front, and then I'll group you up for you. Okay, oh, you're so excited. Up here? Up here. We're coming up there. All right. Sorry, I know your worst nightmare. I could get emotional. I'm not going to, but I could. Mighty tall. Mighty tall. Chris needs to be there. You go. I don't want you to not be seen. Don't want you to not be seen. There we go. Get in the gap.
Okay, ready? On 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Got it?
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We'll do it. I know. Done it. My heart. Oh.
Yes. Yeah, I'm
Oh, they want them.
I don't know who's in memory. You don't want early childhood. Well, no offense. Sure I do, because they're important too.
All right. Lock in. Oh, Gritty. I'm fine either way. Fine either way. Fine either way. Okay, 5-minute break. We're going to finish. Teacher? Thank you. All right, moving into our last and final section, which is just really speaking to the current work that led to the results that you saw just a little bit ago, talk about what's coming forward, and then speak a little bit to some efforts we're having related to recruitment and retention. We know that that is a priority of the Board of Education, and ending out with, of course, Superintendent Solutions, another tool that we use to guide the work that we're doing. So this will wrap us up here. So each end of year and sometimes BOY, I speak specifically to the work of the executive directors and directors of schools and their ability to effectively supervise what is happening on campuses in conjunction with the building principals. So the data that you see there is the number of site visits that executive directors and directors combined made on campuses this school year. You can see the number of classrooms, as well as we now put a little monitoring on the hours that they spend there. And we really intentionally look at the types of conversations they're having when they're on campus, wanting those to be consistently focused on time in classrooms and giving really high quality feedback to teachers, as well as the executive directors giving quality feedback to the principals. So Nicole, what's that look like year over year? Well, here you go. The number of site visits since we started tracking them in the way that we do now, so FY24 through the end of this year, you can see that we are really protecting and prioritizing the executive directors and directors' time on campus, which we believe is a direct correlation to what we're seeing with student achievement. Classroom visits are up 641 from this time last year, and the numbers of hours on campus are up 246. So kudos to that team who really is supporting the work of academic teams as well as leadership on the campus. They are here behind you. I appreciate you. Thank you for doing the hard work that leads us to where we are. I also want to talk about learning walks, which is a new piece that our EDs are implementing. So elementary really began the exploration into this, which is essentially getting our principals together on campuses to walk a specific school and talk about high leverage strategies that they're seeing in classrooms that they can then scale at their own buildings. So 11 elementary campuses hosted a learning walk this school year. And what you see there is kind of an agenda of the flow of how they spent their half day. Leaders were selected based on not only strong performance data, but the instructional practice that was actually happening in the classrooms. And as a result of those, we got leaders into 124 classrooms that were not in their own building. So I think stepping outside of your own campus can really provide you with some unique opportunities to help when you go back to your campus to lead. And so we're looking to expand this work into the secondary world as well as we think about FY26. We've talked a lot about PBIS, but I would be remiss not to acknowledge the hard work of our district PBIS committee, which is really about sustaining the implementation. So there are about 15 people that participate in these monthly meetings. They are made up primarily of district level and department leaders, but we partner with 4 consultants from the Agency of Teaching, Leading, and Learning at Missouri State, as well as with our consultants from Missouri PBIS. We focused really hard this last year on growing our evaluation systems and figuring out where the places that exemplar PBS Tier 1 is occurring. And so you can see the increases in those particular areas. And really, this is about us reviewing the data that we shared with you earlier. It's also about us looking at the discipline data and making some decisions about where we need to act. and how we can make sure that we're connecting buildings who are not having as high a level of success with PBIS implementation with those that are doing it really well. So again, you're starting to see this model of how we can scale both from an academic standpoint and from a behavior standpoint to help all of our buildings grow. You also heard Westport mention Leader in Me. We talk a lot about school choice and the expansion of choice, but sometimes we neglect to consider programs like what Cowden is doing, as well as our campuses that are implementing Leader in Me. So really this work is about 3 pillars of transformation. We approach it from a leadership standpoint, a culture standpoint, and an academic standpoint. And really this is about staff development, it's about student empowerment, which you heard from Westport, and it's about family involvement. So as we think about those pieces coming to fruition, we currently in year 1 launched 4 Leader in Me schools, and you can see those listed here. That was this last year. And for the coming year, we have 4 additional campuses that will be coming on and receiving the learning. So we'll have 4 in year 2 and 4 that will be in year 1. This is definitely a model that we are looking to continue to scale and are hopeful for the work that this is going to do as we provide the ownership not only back to students, but to teachers to empower those students. This is a snapshot of all the amazing learning that is slated for our teachers and leaders across the summer. So 29 different topics and 5 different book studies are live as of now. And leaders will be gathering in July for some intentional learning. Obviously, we are allowing the August Teach Forward trade out, so some of our teachers can access that content now to help them be better prepared when they step back into classrooms in late August. You heard Dr. Height mention the strategic support campuses. This is a direct result of your investment in our campuses that are most at promise, and you heard how that's impacting what's happening for them. So we will continue to do that and add a campus this school year. And then again, we'll continue to highlight and to leverage job-embedded professional learning teams, which every single one of our campuses acknowledged as a driver for change. Again, we are focusing on building the capacity specifically of our special education teachers. We, last year, leaders engaged in some collaborative learning with special education staff, and this year we are extending that and expanding it into the work that we're doing with our special education teachers. We're partnering with Solution Tree like we have in the past to bring in really sound leaders in the work to help us refine our practices, and we're targeting specialized instruction for our students who are entitled to the services under an IEP. So we're excited about that work. Here are the buckets of leader learning. This will be for all of our principals, assistant principals, our coordinators of site intervention, as well as our school community liaisons. And you can see the buckets there of special education specifically, which we highlighted on the slide before, but also continuing the support of student behavior with regard to tier 2 supports. And then we will continue with the learning that we do not only monthly with our principals, but also as we kick off the year with them. And you can see the topics outlined there. And into some of the staff recruitment and retention efforts. So what you see here is Hillcrest High School Future Educator Cohort. So you can see the students that we got to go out and celebrate that are going to be teachers in our system someday. This also shows, since we started Future Educators, the size of our cohorts shifting year over year. So in cohort 5, we now have 23 students that are participating. Oh, notice, sorry, a change of 23 students from cohort 1 to cohort 5. So very excited about that. You might say, what does that look like when we think about staffing? Well, here you go. So you can see the cohort breakdowns, who is currently working within SPS, who will be graduating and then will become eligible, who's been hired, and the different pieces there as we think about impact into our actual system. So super excited about the work that's happening for our future educators and the potential teachers we'll have serving in SPS very soon. Pathways to Paras began for us in the summer of 2025, so a year ago this time. And at that point, what this is a partnership with MSU that allows our current sitting paraprofessionals to pursue a 2-year degree, accelerated, to get a degree in special education. So this is a direct result of us making a way for paras to be able to acquire the skills they need to become a teacher within our system. So 11 apprentices initially, we grew to 16 as we began to program, and 7 of those are on a provisional or a teacher of record currently. And then you can see cohort 2 actually started June 1st, and look at the growth there, 28 that are into the program for cohort 2. So really excited about how this is going to help us meet a need in special education. Last but certainly not least, we are passionate about retaining our current leaders and want opportunities for them to advance within our system. Of course, we want them to do what is best for them, but we'd love to keep them here if we can. And so we offered what we call opening doors to central office leadership this spring. 15 building principals attended, and the opportunity we had here to have really rich dialogue around the realities of making a jump from a building into central office leadership. We talked about the mindset and the experiences of several of us that have made those moves within the system, and we gave them some ideas around opportunities that they might not have been aware of for advancement in the organization. Sometimes if you're a principal in a building, you think that your advancement is only into the academic arena, and so we had opportunities to really share all the places that their skill sets might be utilized in the organization and help them to think differently about where their next place might be. So excited about that and the continued work around that particular piece. And last but not least, we continue to love the process around superintendent solution and the engagement we have with stakeholders internal to the system. So this year, Dr. Latham, myself, and Dr. Majors had 31 opportunities to engage with staff members across these groups. So the numbers there reflect the times or the touch points that we had with those particular groups. You'll notice the principal number's really high. It's because we meet with them in their divisional bands. So we offer more options because there are more of them. And we continued, last year I think we only met with high school students twice, and we added an additional meeting this coming year because they love to hang out with Dr. Lathan. That's just the truth. And the primary feedback themes that we really drilled into and used to guide some of the work came both from our teachers and our principals. What I would just say about our Superintendent Solutions group of teachers is I'm so proud of the work that they do and the way that they come into a space and are solutions oriented. They want to partner with the district. They want to be advocates for the district. And honestly, they want us to tell them how to do that. And that is a very great place to be. They are consistent in the feedback that they provide us, and their feedback is driving change that is actually happening for the upcoming school year. We made specific modifications to our district common formative assessments and how we do it as a result of the feedback we heard from both teachers and principals this year, which is pretty awesome. And again, our principals continue to say, use us to refine processes and help us to help you improve the work. And so we're just so thankful for both of those groups that provide us really in-time feedback to make changes that support schools. Fast and furious at the end there, but thank you so much again for the opportunity to highlight not only the amazing thing that's going on campuses, but of the academic teams that are working collaboratively to really ensure that we have success for all students in the district. Thanks for letting me be here.
Board members, comments, questions, anything?
Round two.
Round two.
Okay, real quick. I'll start with a comment that as I'm sitting here listening, especially at the very end, I feel like and I don't want to step on any toes, but I feel like we're finally running the district like a successful competitive business. Does that, hope I'm not stepping on anybody's toes? I know it's not a private enterprise, but it is a business. Competitive as by empowering leaders, feedback, the kind of things that businesses do because they're trying to beat out the business next door, right? Like big box businesses. So, so that's my comment. And then I think I just want to make sure that slide 74, I misinterpreted this when I went through it myself, and I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. So when I saw 31 opportunities and 15 principals, in my mind, I thought, oh, 15 principals had an opportunity to meet with Dr. Lathan, but I misunderstood that. These are 15 opportunities.
Got it.
As in time slots.
I got it.
Right? So all the principals had an opportunity to meet with Dr. Lathan.
Right.
I You know,
You're
when you
talk- you're
see the
talking about-
slide, it's different than when you hear someone talk about
this
it.
slide.
Right, yeah, so that's not 15 principals, that's 15 opportunities for
Yes.
principals to come.
Yes.
So really, every principal had an opportunity to come.
Times a
and
year.
The principals had 3 opportunities to come at all levels. Wow, okay. And then my last question has to do with with the future educators. So when you say cohort, what does a cohort mean? Is it when they're juniors and when do they sign up? Is this when they're leaving us to go to MSU? What's a cohort?
It's the year they came in.
Yeah, the year they came in, that's a cohort.
What, they came in to be a junior or
Future educators program, they were juniors or seniors.
juniors or seniors?
Seniors, yes.
Okay, so juniors or seniors, okay. So when I look at, I'm going between slide 70 and 71. So in cohort 3, there were 8 students. I think we're going to get all 8. 4 will graduate in May, and 4 have been hired.
Correct.
And is the difference because, they come into the program, and then when they go to university, people are on different paths. Somebody could be double majoring. That's the difference. And then cohort 4, there were 21. 4 have been hired.
For FY '27.
But 1 is a teacher of record. I don't know what that means. And 3 in various positions. So they're not teachers. So we're
Might
getting
not be, yeah, it might not be a classroom teacher yet.
yet, but they're working on it. Okay, so we're getting a lot of good return on investment.
Good ROI.
You guys love your acronyms, don't you?
Hey, that's a business acronym. That's not an education one.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. She did. She did.
Okay. I will just, when I think about the programs and the successes and the different things that we're investing in and doing training in, and I think of PLTs and PBIS and all of that, that I think every phase has its challenges, but I think one of the challenges that's going to be coming if after we've been doing this for 3 or 4 years, and the success drives some of that, but it also takes, I don't know what it takes, I'm going to trust you to do that, but it's hard to keep that same momentum going for a program that's been implemented over time. And so I'll be interested to see how that all evolves, because I know you've got that in your mind.
Yep.
But I also know from a practical standpoint, that can be a real challenge.
What we continue to hear from our principals and even teachers is that for a long time in the district, we were looking, you heard Rob reference it, for that silver bullet. What is the quick fix that's going to help me move this data? And I'm really only thinking about the beginning of this year to the end of this year, right? And so we went wide with implementation of a lot of things instead of deep with implementation of a few. And I would say we've been sitting in these spaces for quite some time now because there is so much deepening that can occur. And often when we get to this point in the year, our team, and we just literally did this the other day, said, what are we going to continue to prioritize? And the consensus of feedback from our leaders and from that team is we're going to sit in the things that we know yield the highest outcomes, and we're just going to continue to deepen knowledge. And to some degree, I think that feels really good to teachers when lots of other things around them are consistently changing. And so we're going to hold on to that until we see data that tells us we need to do something different. Yeah.
Yeah, in just a second. But another challenge I can see along this same vein, and I wrote it down as the teachers and administrators were talking, tremendous growth. And I was honing in on Westport. Okay, so they're feeder to Parkview and Central. I don't want to add to anybody else's plate of meetings that we love to have, but it's like Parkview and Central need to really look at what they're getting as freshmen and what has been learned. And I know that at the back to school meetings with, data is shared and all that, but I think it's really important, and I am thinking it from the high school level. They're coming into this big space with 1,400 students or 2,000 at Kickapoo, And what are they bringing with them? I think that's important information to share. Listen, freshman teachers, this is where these kids were. It'll be your job now to take them to the next level. Because I don't think that's bad information to
Those
share.
pass the baton moments. Yeah.
Dr. Mahatmakani.
Growth, and you said how we were in these spaces and that the teachers feel good, but I think it's also important to recognize that there has been change in how we approach the system. It starts with leadership, and that change wasn't easy. It's hard. Change is hard. So people feel good now, but it was because as a team, the leaders persisted despite, and it's like, but we experience that in our relationships outside of this room, with our families, with, our friends, and that you just have to persist because you believe in the mission. And then you see that people eventually come along, but you have to be brave to stick it out because it's easy. And okay, now I really don't want to step on any toes. So I've learned in the education world, because I didn't know this before, there's a reason I'm not a teacher, and I love all the teachers my kids have had, because the love, the empathy, not to say that I can't love and be empathetic, I just have a different style, but these are also individuals where there's a lot of big feelings and emotions, and that's why we want them to be our kids' teachers, right? But those same characteristics make it maybe less easy to implement change as you would in a private business model. Did I kind of, perhaps?
No, I'm not disagreeing.
So I think, again, it comes down to teamwork, leadership, sticking it out, and believing in it and in each other.
Yeah, we have to go.
And, I don't normally look forward to November, ever, because it's my birthday, and I'm going to enter the second half of the 5th decade.
Please.
But I'm really looking forward to it, because we're going to get the data.
We are too. We are too.
And I think that Dr. Makani's point is well made in terms of the persistence. But what I'm also hearing, there's persistence, but there's refining as well. It's you refine and you persist. It's not just the same old, same old. It's you've got to change with it when you need to and recognize where to make the tweaks.
Absolutely.
Good for you.
Hard love, tough
Yeah.
love.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You can love well, but you can also hold people highly accountable.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else, ladies? All right.
I'm walking away now. Okay.
Okay, well, coming to the podium, Mr. Sean Dilday will provide information on item 7.01, end of year, and ESY summer transportation route approval.
Yes.
There you go.
So this informational item for tonight will come back to the board meeting on June 23rd for approval, but it is for the requirements of the operation of the school buses, and specifically, the board has to approve this, the original one in October, which we did, and then the final approval no later than the end of June, which will be June 23rd. Special education and extended school year routes must also be approved. These items are in your board docs, and we'll come back with the recommendation to approve this on the 23rd.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dilday. And as a reminder, as he said, this item is up for a vote at our June 23rd meeting. Thank you. Now, item 7.02, same gentleman, transportation bus purchase.
Yes, another informational item. The district received bids for 4 Type C diesel school buses. The fiscal impact for this purchase will be $725,836 funded by the capital budget. This is yearly replacement as we do on a regular basis. These items are being presented tonight for informational purpose with the recommendation coming at the June 23rd meeting. This is a phase 1. We'll have another bid that's currently out that we'll bring back to you in August for additional buses.
Thank you. Now, Item 7.03, transportation ever-driven contract.
We have a lot of transportation this evening. So as you recall, we went with Ever-Driven to assist with some of our district routes. Tonight, information item also is to look at extending the contract for Ever-Driven for the FY27 school year. This service will continue to address efficient or inefficient routes, low ridership, and hard-to-access routes with small vehicles. Again, this is an informational item, and the total expenditure on this would be $1.1 million.
Thank you, Mr. Dilday. Any questions, comments from the board? Okay, thank you. Next item, 7.04, collective bargaining agreements. Dr. Brett Range is joining us at the podium.
Good evening. Pursuant to Board of Education Policy HA, in February of 2026, the district began negotiations with Springfield National Education Association and Teamsters Local Union Number 245 to reach tentative agreements relative to wages, benefits, and other terms and conditions of employment for covered employees. To accomplish this, the district met with SNEA for about 44 hours and with Teamsters for about 6.5 hours. The various negotiation teams reached tentative agreements on May the 28th, 2026, prior to the June 1st, 2026 deadline, and those redlined agreements are in your board packets. School police is the only redline contract you do not see, as Ms. Benny is still working with school police employees to ratify the changes within that contract. Approval of the board will be requested at the June 23rd, 2026 regular board meeting. As a reminder, SNEA represents the following 9 employee groups: educators, facility services, specialized instructional support personnel, which is SISP, information technology, support staff professionals, school police, professional school nurses, administrative assistants, and nutrition service workers. Teamsters represents the employees that work in transportation. The district thanks, I want to thank, on behalf of the district, both Ms. Shannon Benny and her SNEA team, as well as Mr. Mike Gugliana and his Teamsters team for a smooth bargaining process this spring. Please let me know if you have any questions this evening or prior to the June 23rd, 2026 regular board meeting for the vote.
Thank you, Dr. Range. Board members, do you have any questions at this time? Okay, moving on to our next item. Item 7.05, alternative method of instruction plan for 2026-27.
Good evening. This item is our annual alternative method for instruction, or AMI plan. We have to submit this to DESE annually, and it requires approval by our Board of Education. We can use AMI for up to 36 hours annually, and there are no changes to our plan for next year. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
So this is the same plan as last year?
Yes.
And did we use all of the hours last year? I don't recall.
No, we did not. It kind of depended by site as well, because we also use it not just for snow, but other issues that we might run into.
It was water main break last year, last December at Hillcrest, so we needed to use 1 or 2 days there. I think that was the only one.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Douglas. Moving on to Dr. Lathan, item 7.06, proposed rates and fees.
Yes, board members, as you can see in the board packet, just slight increases for items such as student meal prices, athletic fees, tuition rate, which is set by DESE, facility usage fees, and then IVAP testing. And remember, those testing fees are guided by those different companies. And so those are the increases for 26-27 that we'll be asking you to approve on June 23rd.
Really nice to oh, well, we'll have to.
Yes, but thank you.
And so the fees that are passed down, it's because AP and IB increased it? Yes. But we're going to cover the expenses for free and reduced lunch students.
Free and reduced lunch are covered, and then there are also scholarships available for some students that don't qualify for free and reduced lunch through our foundation or partner with our foundation.
Thank you. Next, we have item 9.01, well, 9.2023, bond project updates and actions, and change orders and agreements. Mr. Dilday's back to the podium.
So before you tonight is the change order agreements. As you can see, we're getting less and less as Reed and Pipkin both are finishing up. Two large items on this tonight is for Pipkin and Reed, custodial supplies and equipment. Each building, $129,988. And then a small technology purchase of some mounts for elementary school cameras of $322, with a total of $260,299.36.
Expensive. Is that for like 5 years? I mean, that's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money, and these particular items for each one of these buildings are two-story buildings, large buildings. So we have autonomous robot scrubbers that will be scrubbing hallway floors,
So
gymnasium
robots?
floors. We have those throughout a couple of the buildings in the district, but for efficiency.
Those are very expensive.
Yeah, that's not the only items on there, but that's a couple items that drove the price up.
So each building needs a couple, one for each floor?
One for each floor, yes.
Our recommended action is that the board approve the expenditures as presented. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Dr. Mohammed Khani moved. Is there a second? Board Member Provance, second. All in favor? Okay, so 4, and chair votes aye, so 4 in the affirmative. All right. Report from the administration, Dr. Lathan.
Yes, board members, this is our second week of Explore Summer Learning. Attendance for seated classes during the first week was 78%. About 2,600 students are riding the bus daily during Explore. For the June session of Virtual Explore, there are 13,256 unique student enrollments, with about 10,860 enrolled for July. Serving all these students is made possible by more than 1,000 teachers and support staff who are working this summer. And we want to thank them for their willingness to support our students through Explore. Tomorrow, SPS is hosting a support staff career fair to recruit applicants for paraprofessional, nutrition services and maintenance workers, bus drivers, and custodial positions. The event will be held from 10 to 1 at our transportation center. Applicants can drop in for a free lunch and on-the-spot interviews. Once again, support staff career fair tomorrow at our location on Pythian Street, 10 a.m. to 1 o'clock at the transportation center. I would like to congratulate our transportation department for their recent state inspection results. Thanks to their efforts, SPS earned the highest inspection results since 2017 with a 98.6% rate, which is an improvement of more than 1% over last year. The average rate in Missouri is 91.7%. Our entire fleet of buses, only 2 minor defects were found. As a result, this is the 26th year in a row that we have received the Missouri Highway Patrol Fleet Excellence Award. Congratulations to our transportation department. And I know Keith was here, Adams was here earlier. Yes, you can clap, yes. Here's another one to clap on. This year, a record number of SPS students earned the Missouri State Seal of Biliteracy. The Seal of Biliteracy was awarded to 134 students who either speak a language other than English or are enrolled in an upper-level world language class and demonstrated a proficiency in reading, listening, writing, and speaking another language. 10 students received the Distinguished Seal, which requires even a higher score. So congratulations to that 134 students in SPS for that recognition. And their teachers, most definitely, and their world language teachers, yes, thank you. Board members, that concludes my comments for this evening.
Okay. Board members, do you have anything that you would like to add? Well, okay, all right. Okay, wonderful. Our upcoming meeting, June 23rd, 2026, is the regular board meeting. No board meeting in July, but you all are never far from our thoughts. We're still checking emails and doing all sorts of things during July. So, item 12.01, our recommended action is that the board adjourn. Do I have a motion? Dr. Mahad Makani moved. Is there a second? Board Member Smart, second. All in favor? And chair votes aye. The meeting is adjourned at 8:25. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.